Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. Joining me, as always, is my one and only co-host and my oldest friend, for some reason, Tom. What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I mean, checks out. Hello, friends.
Good to have you on, Tom. Also, joining us again, the most dangerous man in Age of Sigmar, the one and only Mr. Mephisto. How you doing, Meph?
I am living the dream. Not my dream.
It's
someone's dream.
It's what's important. It's what's important. All right, so tonight we're going to talk about Ossiarch Bone Reapers in Age of Sigmar 3.0. We're going to get into them Bone Daddies. So from here on out, it's just going to be a lot of Bone Daddy talk. So, I guess get into it. But
better hold on. Better hold on tight.
Yeah, indeed. Right. Yeah. But of course, first, as always, the news. What do we got, Tom?
Rumor engine?
We do. It's a stupid 40k thing. Yes. Okay. Great.
No.
Cool.
No, this is Chaos Dwarfs that are definitely coming. This is for their they're gonna get like a little Humvee or something.
Yeah. They're rubber manufactured tires.
Yeah, like a Doom. With,
I was going to make the rubber.
It's
joke.
magic. They had dwarves. They're dwarves. Like they runesmithed it or something. That's not a tire. That's an intricately carved rune.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not that might as well say Goodyear on the side, but instead of that, it would have to be like, if it was Chaos Dwarfs, it'd have to be like Bad Year or something like that. Like that would be the level of pun.
Yeah.
So
amazing. Yes, it is clearly a 40k thing, so we can move on to the more important news. The IDNS Fireslayer box.
Well, let's start with the Fireslayer guy, because we did get his rules since the last show. So, Tom.
And not only his, like everybody's rules.
Yeah, sure. We got a lot of updated rules. We'll talk about all of them, but that came by way of people who had the box on pre-release
the preview
stuff. We're talking about it. So, but the official article, they shared out this guy, this guy here.
Sweet sculpt, by the way. Like triple mohawk. I'm a big fan. They're like, well, how else will you improve this? 3 mohawks.
I mean,
it's not pants. Could have been pants.
Can't be pants or boots, but 3 mohawks.
It could have been pants, but it's not. So the 3 mohawks distinguishes him from the other 3 sculpts that have Fireslayers holding flaming axes one hand and lifting something else up with the other. It's the triple mohawk that actually distinguishes him.
Right.
By the way, I do want to shout out real quick. Master Shake 9000 said Bad Year is what the old Rogue Trader 2nd edition orc vehicles had on their tires. So
of course it was.
That is, I knew I was hitting at the Games Workshop pun level. I love it.
That's just a great callback then.
That's right. That's right.
Self-reference.
Easy. All right. So here's the guy's rules. He has this Master Flame rune, which is obviously his thing, and it's all about. So first of all, he has to carry a little dice around with him, which is always fun. We love that. We love that when models carry dice around with them that aren't their wound counter. So no issues there at all. So he carries his little dice around with him, and if a Fireslayer model is slain within 12 of him, he gets a little pip on his die. Okay.
Yep.
And then once per turn, start of the combat phase.
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. Let's get this right. We need to mentally get in the right space. So you have a high wound, low model count army.
Yes, correct.
And you need to remove 5 of these guys
before the rule triggers.
Before the rule even triggers. Okay, go on.
Okay, right. So, we lost 5 guys. And once we've done that, once per turn at the start of the combat phase, if it's 6, you can say it draws upon the power of the runes. And you can pick a friendly Auric Hearthguard Berserkers, or Volkite Berserkers. Basically, any of the infantry. Any non-hero unit. It amuses me that by listing 3 units, they could have replaced the same thing with non-hero. And future-proofed this. But if you ever wanted proof that you're not getting any additional units for this army ever, it's in this rule right here, because they know they could have written non-hero and future-proofed it. So when they came out with something new, it would have applied naturally to them as well. But nope, They blew right
No.
by that opportunity. We're like, there's no world where we add more units to this army.
This is the first time you see Shawn Michaels slap his leg for Sweet Chin Music moment. Like, it's just, the magic is ruined forever.
Right.
I see you two wrestling stands in the audience there, AOS coach.
So, and then if they're wholly within 12, you get one of the following effects. And then you change the value back to 1, meaning another 5 people need to die. If more than 5 people die before you activate the effect, then obviously those extra slain bodies are wasted. You can have multiples of these guys running around who can both get credit, as it were, for a death. So that is to say, you could have 2 of them. And have them, like, if 5 guys died, they both suddenly go to 6. That is true. And unlike most other effects like this, they can be... A single unit could absorb multiples of these buffs. That is important to note. With everything else like Slobody or stuff like that, obviously a little easier to activate in those cases, those are all limited to 1. Right? Like, you can't have multiple Slobody Bile Pipers use magic fart sounds to affect a unit. Okay. So, you can get a ward of 6 up, which is basically worthless with some of the aforementioned units, and not that great otherwise. You can, they can get Death Frenzy.
Which one of the units already has.
Right, which one of the units already has, but it's also bad Death Frenzy, because it only works if they haven't yet fought. It's not good Death Frenzy, where before they removed, they fight. Like, a lot of people have that kind of Death Frenzy. Doesn't matter if they fought already or not, so you can technically get 2 fights out of them. You can immediately attempt to charge, which is the best one on this list. I will die on that hill. Because
also the coolest, right?
Charging at the start of the combat phase is super powerful. You can bring another unit into combat that they didn't want to fight. Like, they tried to get on one of your heroes or something, and suddenly you're in combat with them and you're killing their hammer unit with a fight they didn't want to have. You're charging them out of sequence, so they can't unleash hell on you. Like, that is a good ability. I'm not going to throw shade at that one. Off-cycle charging is good. Okay? And then Grimnir's Vengeance, you can add one of the damage characteristic of that unit's melee weapons, which, also good.
Reliable.
That's fine. That's the second best
Reliable.
one. I mean, plus 1 damage is good. Okay.
It's the least circumstantial.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's just generally good to do more damage. I should note that it's only melee weapons, because this is the combat phase, and one of the 3 units that can be affected here is a shooting unit that doesn't want to be in melee and is pretty bad at it. But, okay. At any rate. So, Tom. Now, this guy's what? Like 80 points? This dude's super cheap. Right?
He is. And so when I said, man, if this is a priest at 80 points, I am in. And here's the thing. They said this is a priest in the lore of the article. Funny story. He's not.
He's holding up a priestly ruin. He's surveying over funeral rites of the.
He is wearing all the appropriate things. He does not have the priest keyword.
He
thus, he does
2
not
more
have prayers.
mohawks than other priests in the army. to denote how important he is.
Yeah, he's only like a deacon or a minister or something. He hasn't.
Clearly.
He hasn't gotten.
Yeah, he can't do the rites.
He hasn't gotten flopped yet.
Yeah, he doesn't have the authority to do the prayers. Okay, so here's the deal. Like, maybe with a heavy Volkite list, like where I had a block of 20, I might run one of these guys. Maybe.
Sure.
Okay. Because he's 80 points, and his profile is not terrible for an 80-point hero.
Right.
So, like, he's somebody that I would actually stick in somewhere, because I think he's doing, like, 2 damage a pop, 4 attacks. Like, that's not bad, right?
Yeah, he has a basic Stormcast hero profile. Yeah.
Right. And again, at 80 points, it's not terrible.
Right.
But, man, like, there's a lot of really, like, high-octane heroes in this army, and this dude is not it. Anytime that you're having to rely on abilities that require you to remove models in an army that is already low model count, and in an army that has no way to naturally replace those models, that is a losing strategy. Mm-hmm. Period. Mm-hmm. And so, like, his text may as well say ipsum lorem. Now,
But Tom,
here's one of the.
are you not considering the blood tithe effect here?
No. Like,
Okay.
no. Like,
look, you lose a model, and you're like, wait, hold on. I get to move this dice up a pip. That's fun. I get to do a thing.
Yeah.
You get a
And I
reward
spent
for losing.
80 points on this stupid guy. No,
It's
I mean,
pretty
here's
cheap.
the deal.
That is cheap.
He is. All I will say is this. Like, I'm pretty negative on him. I'm going to be honest. But what I will say is that I don't hate, again, like, increasing all of a Volk, like 15 remaining Volkites all on damage 2 with neg 1 rend. That's not terrible, especially, with your rune of reroll ones to hit. Like, if you trigger it on the right turn, this might be some neat anti-shooting tech for the army. That's something else to think about, because, like, enemies that are going to come in and volley into a bunch of your models, like, this actually gives you something to punch back with.
Sure.
After you've lost those models. And so there are a couple strats, there are a couple, like, corner cases where I could see this working. But the problem is that this has been paired with a bit kicking, I don't know how else to say it, to basically all the war scrolls in this box.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, let me say it this way. I think this guy will show up in every army that gets played.
You really think so?
I do. Because he's too cheap. He's cheap as chips, and he's a win for losing effect. And anything that gives you damage to shows up in armies, period, end of story. Okay? Like, you're going to lose models. This is AOS. Things die. There's no reason not to make whoever remains damage to for 80 points. Period. He'll be in
for one combat phase?
Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's still... Yeah, I mean, that's often what ends up happening.
Is one swing.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
ask every Iron Jaws player how much they value +1 damage. Okay?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
so so he'll be in every list. Period. Because if you don't, like, when's the last time you flawless victory to game?
No, okay. I understand. And 80 points is super cheap. I get that too. I really do.
Yep.
And like, so maybe the right answer is to run him with your screen, behind your screen, to empower the, like, screen of Volkites, enemies hit
and
the
then
screen.
The Beta Strike comes in and kills whatever's there. Yes, for the counter.
And the Beta Strike powered by this guy. So, yeah, maybe. That's fine. I just, like, I don't know, man.
So let's talk high level. We'll do all the, like, I don't care that much about all the rules changes to IDK and Fire Slayers, because I just think, I don't even know if they're real. Like, that is to say, sometimes they've changed rules in boxes, and then a book comes out and they have suddenly new rules again. It happened with multiple armies in the past in these boxes.
Marathi effect. Yeah, totally.
Sure. Because these boxes get printed so far in advance of the actual book being printed, even. Because stuff has to come from China and all that. So, whatever. Maybe this is the final rules, maybe it's not. The important part that I think we all are happy about and want to stick is... Namarti got a 2-inch reach. Let's be honest. That's it, boys. We won.
Huge. Yeah.
We did it. Sorry, Fire Slayers, but, you know.
It took people screaming 2 entire editions, though.
But like, we got there.
IDK got in right under 2.0, right? Like, it came out in first ed, like, in that sort of in-between. It took 2 entire editions of people saying, give Thralls 2-inch reach, and while you're at it, maybe this just needs to be the way you go with all 32 mil base things. And it is. Games Workshop, I know you're listening. It is. It's spoiler. It's just the way you go with. It should be the exception that things have shorter reach than the longer reach on that base size. Yeah.
I hear that, and I'm gonna let you speak. But
I'm gonna let you finish.
I'm gonna let you finish.
Yeah.
But the fact that every single Fire Slayer unit in the box, which was all of the troops, all of them got worse.
Sure.
Universally, all of them. With the exception of
4s and 4s for your 1 axe that you throw now at not even your charge range.
You shut your dirty mouth.
7, not even an average charge range. 8. Like, whoever was crunching the math on that, they're like, okay, do they have some, like, chaos number we need to worry about? That's why no, we're just gonna set it to 8 arbitrarily, and that's what it is. Like, 9 inches makes sense because deep strikes, 7 inches make strike because average charge, 12 inches make strike because that is charge range. Like, literally any other number. Like, I guess you're outside of 6-inch pile-in shenanigans.
My fix for those axes would have been to remove it from the War Scroll, not make it better. But anyways, go ahead, Tom.
No, I mean, I don't disagree with you, Vince. But I mean, the problem here is that like Bodyguard got removed from the Oryx, so they actually don't serve a function anymore. Like
They're just
previously,
shooters.
like they had a function. Now they're just a bad range unit that you can ally in better range units for.
Yeah, they're just shooters and average shooters at best. Yes.
Right.
Can I reset
Like
this master? Oh, go finish your point, Tom.
I would say you can have 5 of these guys or a gun hauler. You pick.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, so like that got worse. The only thing that I will say is that pick and shield, it moves their save to a 4-up base now
For Volkites.
for Volkites, but they're like 170 for 10.
Sure.
So I don't know, man. I saw this and I was like, well, that book better be really good.
So first of all, yeah, I mean, this is my point. This is why it's not worth talking about, because as Berserk 2112 just pointed out, Bodyguard could be in the allegiance abilities, which I actually don't disagree with. Right? And that's the problem.
Right.
We have so little of this picture, it's hard to say. It's a weird thing to remove when we don't have the books. When are we going to get the books? My honest answer is, I bet not anytime soon.
Yeah.
That's probably accurate.
I like, if you wanted me to put hard money down on a month, I'd slap a tenner on March.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oof. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't get them before like May.
No, I don't. I don't think it's going to be that long. I mean, some things are greatly delayed, but I just not that far back. But I mean, I don't know. What do you got to say, Meph? Hit me.
Oh, I just wanted to reset on Master Flame Rune, Auric Flamekeeper here. Like I loved where their design space actually went. Like,
Sure.
It reminds me of like a Berserker effect, like kind of what they're going for here. And I love the idea that he's like prying the Urgold out of corpses, and like it's actually cool. Maybe it's the Death Player. They took it right up to the like. They got the breakaway steal. They went up for the dunk, and then just bam off the rim. You know, it was it was right there. If there's an allegiance ability that modifies his dicing, you know, who knows? Like, if there's some stuff, like, there's so much that allegiance abilities can do to those war scrolls. There can be so much gas in allegiance plus free rules and sub-allegiance now that everyone we've just agreed now everyone gets free rules. Like, there's... What if that extra attack that's just missing off of every war scroll is just in an allegiance ability somewhere, or just in a sub-allegiance? Like, there's so many other pieces here that are missing. It doesn't feel worth... I don't know. It's hard to make a prescriptive judgment, but I know like 2 Fireslayer fans are like really excited at all.
What are the other 2 things?
And so I'm just gonna like warm my hands by that fire forever. Like that's
sure.
Like just yeah, just 2. But I mean that's like half the Fireslayer players in the world. So
correct. Yeah, that's the trick.
It's
right?
50%.
Yeah, exactly. So we got half of them. So it's not bad. It's pretty good.
Yeah, no, great margin. Already punching above the clip for everyone else.
Absolutely. All right, Tom. What else? That's all the news, right? I mean, it's quiet.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, like obviously the box is coming out this week. Let me just say, do you think this box is going to sell well?
No.
I don't think so either. I don't.
No.
I am a Fireslayer player. I looked at it and I was like,
no, because it contains Fireslayers. So by default, it will not sell well. It's that easy. This is math. Okay? That'd be like if my tacos that I sold you also came with a punch in the face. Am I going to sell a lot of tacos? Probably not. I will sell some. There are weirdos out there. Okay? But not a lot. And that's the problem with including Fireslayers. It's a punch in the face.
You underestimate my love of tacos, Vince.
I said there are weirdos. I didn't say none. I said not as many. It's a difference.
No, well,
Fireslayers are the Fermi's paradox of Age of Sigmar. Like, I hear tons of people talking about Fireslayers, wanting Fireslayers buffs, like, the Fireslayers is the army for them, and so on and so forth. I never see anyone actually playing them. Where are they?
Army.
Like, where are all the Fireslayers players?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, sure.
Well, it is a bad army. Like, let's be
even
very clear.
when they were pound for pound better than Petrifex Elite, when Petrifex Elite was the thing everyone was mewling over a whole edition ago, they did everything Petrifex Elite was doing and better and had a teleport. They weren't anywhere to be seen.
Yeah, it's the aesthetic. That's completely what it is. Like I've said many times, on all of our aesthetic surveys, they were always one of the lowest, if not the lowest faction. So That's
really
it. That's what moves units.
It's an expensive army too. Like, I hate to say it, but
Sure.
like it's an army based on 5 troops for $45.
In for a penny, in
slightly
for a
more
pound with
expensive, but
Warhammer.
it's not
the cost.
Yeah, we're not talking about the difference between like, oh, this army's $10,000 when every other army's $500. Like, okay, fine. Like, I'm not saying there's not a marginal impact there, Tom, on the extra $200, $300 you have to spend, but this hobby's super expensive. Okay,
sure.
Like, lots of people spend too much money on their armies. It's
yeah.
We're talking that is an effect at the margins, 1-2%. You know, aesthetics matter. Period. What sells boxes? How cool something is. Discussion more or less ends there.
I resemble that
if something
remark.
has super sweet rules, yes, it sells slightly more, because a bunch of competitive players go grab it if it's new. If it's old, it doesn't matter, or already widely available, competitive players just go buy it secondhand. So they move no additional units. It's the aesthetic. Like, when they make a new release that looks super sweet, it blows the units away. End of story. Right? Like, Sylvaneth has had crappy rules for most of its existence, and people still buy the heck out of all those trees because people think they look really cool. It's that easy.
That's an army that people are passionate to start playing Age of Sigmar for.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of those armies that pulls people into our hobby. Like, how many people are like, I'm thinking about starting Sylvaneth, and you're like, you have to give them the talk. You're like, they're not very good.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
I mean, you're not wrong.
All right. Let's move on. Next up, pick of the week. All right, where are we at here? All right. Taking too long. That's where we are. All right, so pick of the week. Meph, what would you like to share with everybody?
Since we're going to be talking about Bone Daddies all night tonight, I decided I would go ahead and stand someone with an unfortunate acronym to counterbalance it. Talking about Japan's United Gaming Society, that is Jugs. You can find them on YouTube. They release 2 videos a week, one sort of hobby-focused video, really good hobby going on, and a lore one that, with the Old World coming, they're kind of filling all the holes in like Old World lore, and then also sort of building little parlays into Age of Sigmar lore. I think it's a really good time if Old World's on your mind, unlike mine, which I'm not even thinking about Old World really. But if you are, I think it's a really good place for that. Plus, just that sort of cross-pollination, checking what another part of the world's passion is like for Warhammer. Japan, someplace we don't hear from a lot. We always hear from like the big 3: Europe, Australia, North America, and hey, Japan Warhammers too. So I want to shout that out. And if I'm allowed to indulge slightly, be a little self-indulgent, I want to start advertising it earlier this year. Late July, early August, I'm going to be doing the Rantathon 3. So we've raised $17,000 for Mental Health America in 2 years. I would like to keep that momentum going, and I got my first grand prize box of stuff in. That's all over Twitter right now, painted by Ulf Paints, friend of my show, and stellar-looking Necrons. So that's just one of several perhaps prizes. So just to let people know, Rantathon's coming. Get it in your mind, get it in your brain pan, store it away.
Very nice. It's going to be a lot of fun again. I look forward to joining you. Maybe this year I'll write another RPG. We'll see what happens. All right.
Yeah. Play one live. Who knows? We got to up the ante this year.
Yeah. Tom, what's your pick?
Actually, gonna say I have 2 picks this week.
Okay.
The first of them is longtime friend of the show, Doom and Darkness is back again, hitting our community where it hurts.
He's dropping hard truth bombs, yes.
Where it's relevant, talking about our orientation as gamers towards our hobby and whether we're ashamed of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, dropping some truth bombs, and it was a excellent video. I want to encourage you to check it out. I want to encourage Doom to keep making these videos, these kind of introspective videos on our hobby. So good job, Doom. It's excellent, wonderful video. I highly encourage everyone to check it out. Related to the news today, Graham,
real quick before you go into the next one, I do want to get your next pick. Lock it in your head. Don't lose it.
Yep, it's not going anywhere.
Okay. Are you ashamed of your hobby, Tom?
Not at all.
Okay. Do you talk about it with other non-hobby people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what
This
makes
is a
you a
weird
nerd.
one. It was a weird one for me. Meth, what about you? Oh, wait. Meth, what about you?
Am I ashamed of my hobby? Absolutely not, but I can't keep my mouth shut, so.
See, just talk about it because.
No, his. I love that Doom's back, and he is the OG as far as I'm concerned. He's the first content creator I ever watched. I've been pretty public about that. My show, like his videos in his truck, just
Sure.
like talking about how passionate he was about Warhammer. For me, that was the OG, like Doom. That's the original rant cast, and that is, to see him kind of back to that format with the introspection, with the rants, just kind of going through it. It's awesome. And the last video he did had me have some thoughts. It was like seeing him. I mean, I'm sorry. I know we're going through this a little bit late, but you guys have interviewed people far more than I have. I've had about 2 years of my show, more over 2 years of my show. Almost everybody you interview has this like period of time where they stop Warhammer and they come back to it.
Sure, it's very common. Yes.
And for him to kind of have that like in real time in front of us has been this like just this thing that has made me go introspective myself and like kind of reassess my journey and stuff. So I think I'm not ashamed of my hobby, but I don't feel shame.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's interesting because, one of the points he talked about was like, having friends that aren't into the hobby or something like that. I don't have any such friends. I have a very small. Tom knows the way I treat friends. If you're like in my friend group, then you have cleared quite a hurdle. Because I have no time for new people.
You have no idea how resistant this man is to new people.
Correct. It's absolutely correct.
And if you talk to Vince at a convention, he'll be a perfect gentleman, right? And he'll engage you, and it'll be great. But for the circle, right?
Yes.
This man lets no one in the boundary.
Correct. Yeah, it is a North Korean demilitarized zone you have to cross to get in here, okay? And so my friends, I either play D&D with them, and certainly they all know I Warhammer. I don't talk about Warhammer a huge amount with them, not for any embarrassing reason, just because there's not overlap. Occasionally some of them do
because they don't care about it.
Right. So I don't want to bore them, but I'll help them out because some of them paint miniatures for D&D or whatever. So I'll talk to them about that. And then everybody else I know plays Warhammer. That's it. That's the whole beginning and end of my friend list.
End of list.
End of list.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't have any other friends. I don't talk about it at work because I have no occasion to talk about it at work. If someone asks me, people at work have, of course, come across the fact that I'm on the internet, and they're like, "Do you do shows about Warhammer on the internet?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." It's a passion of mine. Blah blah blah.
Yes, that is me.
It's what I do, and I'll explain it if they want to know. Then I actually ask a question do you really want to know? I'll tell you. So yeah, I mean, but I thought it was a good message because I think a lot of us do create that separation in ourselves, right, and feel ashamed of it. And there's nothing to be ashamed of. It is a passionate, creative, engaging hobby, and hey, look, now's the time of the nerd, baby. That's it. We won.
And that might not last forever. Yeah. The most successful products on the planet are all nerd shit. Just go down, whether it's Star Wars, Warhammer 40K is out Hasbroing Hasbro right now, which is all board games basically. Marvel Comics, it's all just crushing. The status quo, the guard has changed, right? We've had a changing of the guard. Now is the time to be proud of your hobby. Compartmentalization isn't a bad thing in and of itself, but
no, I just think I think we overdo it to some degree, right? I think some people feel because you're compartmentalizing, you're ashamed, and I don't think that's true. It's perfectly fine to just not bore people with stuff they don't care about, but that's a different subject.
And that's the key is do you really care? Do you want to know? Because sure, I'll tell you.
Right.
But for me, I can think of I always have to laugh whenever I'm put on the spot by the people who know about my hobby when I'm in these social professional settings. And we'll be sitting around having a drink or whatever, and they'll be like, "Hey Tom, tell them about how you're really famous on the internet." And I'm like, come on. Not really. There's a very small subsection of culture that knows who I am. Very small. But it's always a weird thing to have to frame, and I don't have a problem with it. But I think, Vince, you nailed it. Do they really care? Like, if they do, sure, I can talk about. Like, as this show has demonstrated, I can talk about Warhammer for very long periods of time.
Sure.
It's not an issue for me.
It's just, is it interesting?
Is it interesting? Right. And for some reason, people enjoy coming and watching us for hours each week talk about Warhammer. And you know what? Awesome. We love that you are here. But I also recognize that not everybody enjoys that.
Sure. Yeah. All right, cool. Let's move on. I just thought it was worth a little quick deep dive.
Over, and you're like,
yeah. All right. What's your second pick, Tom? Hit me.
Yeah. So Graham Lyon, who is the Warhammer Community Commissioning Editor, posted a Facebook or a Twitter thread this last week or so, just soliciting photos of Fire Slayers and Ideneth. And that thread was woefully underpopulated by photos, where he was like, send us your photos! And then like 4 Fire Slayers, 3 Fire Slayers players posted, and like 7 Ideneth. So here's my community call. Here's the call to action, folks. If you are a Fire Slayer or Ideneth player, go post your army photos on Graham's page, because somebody has to buy this box. And we're gonna, I want to motivate people to, to support these armies that are probably not at the top of anybody's buy list.
Well, I mean, IDK very well maybe, but that's one of the best ways. You're not wrong. You want to inspire to sell more? Look at cool armies painted. Nothing inspires me more than looking at other people do awesome things with their armies, right? To be creative with them, to see painted armies. It's what inspires me every day and night, 100%. Hundo P. You'll have to send me the link for that. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely will. There was actually a beautiful Ben Spinetti posted his wonderful IDK army in there, and it was just stunning. So check it out. Check out the thread. You can see a bunch of beautiful armies. If you have one of those armies, please post them. Inspire others.
Love it. All right. Let's get to some hobby time. Meph, what have you been working on, buddy? What's on your desk there?
I am surrounded by desks that are all overtaken by my pounds and pounds, legions and legions of undead for Soulblight Gravelords. Now, you might be saying to me, Mephisto, you already owned like 5,000 points of Legions of Nagash, to which I would say, you're right. But what you were saying about good sculpts sell armies, see, all these really awesome new sculpts came out for exactly the same shit I owned. So clearly the responsible thing to do was to buy hundreds of all of it. Just
makes sense.
Hundreds of dollars, right? So I've got like my little Graveguard conversion here. He's got little rice hat, a katana.
Yeah.
I've got 10 Blood Knights built, another 10 in boxes. I've got all of the Virkos built, all of them. Just building and building and building. I also have a spray booth set up here because I'm about to take a plunge on an airbrush.
Way too clean, by the by. That is not... Yeah. Like, I could clock that thing has not been used from the moment you joined the stream, because I'm like... That is not how a used airbrush booth looks.
Yeah, that is not
on the airbrush hose. Didn't give it away, huh? It was how clean it was.
The blue filter. Blue filter is what gave it away.
That thing stays blue for 8 seconds.
Yeah. No, I built a creature caster, zombie dragon.
Yeah.
Still got to do some gap filling.
They're beautiful.
But I sort of kit bashed the howdah here. Mm-hmm. And I needed something to put in it, so I grabbed our NB Overlord, Anasta, fit perfectly in there.
Great mount.
And
perfect.
Gave them the point, because I wanted the biggest fly me over there. I want to hit it with my sword energy I could get.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then I felt bad because I didn't have Cat Dragon. It's okay. I bought a second one so I can build the Cat Dragon too.
Cool. I did too. I have two of them.
I am a responsible adult, I swear.
No, that's fine. Look, if you're making your house payment and keeping your family fed, then you're good in my book, brother.
Yeah.
All right. So awesome. Tom, what have you been working on?
Lumineth.
Yes.
I am on the
You've been painting a lot of stuff, actually. You've been on it.
Man, I am I am forging through because I have not next weekend, but the weekend after that, I think. I think that's the Columbus weekend. I think that's Brewhammer. And I have a Nighthaunt army that I have to finish for that, but I wanted to get this army at least base coated and washed, like 2 of my 3 steps done on every model before that event happened, so that in that last week I could do all of my highlights to get it ready for Holy Wars when we have our next team event. And these Lumineth take way more time than my Nighthaunt do. So I'm trying to get them done first, and then I will. And if I have to, like, I can pinch in on my Nighthaunt and just take what I have painted, and it'll be fine. So I don't need to like. Yeah, I'm not planning on winning. I'm not planning on winning that any painting anything at Brewhammer. Given that I know that you're going to be at the event, Vince.
It's fine. Yeah, for myself, it does feel like that event is closer. I probably should actually we need to figure out the display board thing. That's fine.
We do.
But whatever. I've been painting other things and having fun. I don't care. I got other things I want to paint, and I don't like making display boards even when I have a good idea for them. I finished up the first model for... I asked him if I could talk about this, and he said yeah, so okay, cool. I finished up the first model for Miniac's Kickstarter that's coming next month. He sent me the pack of them. And so I finished up that one, and that video will release next month. I'm working on this guy right now, who is not going to show up at all in there, but he is an environmental lighting piece, which is this cool demon thing. He's a 3D print. You're going to ask me where he's from, and I'm going to tell you I don't know. There he is. Woo, spooky. He has a little underlighting. He's going to be a video sometime in the future about atmospheric lighting. This is for our buddy, by the way. This is for Dan. He gave this, like, this is for his demon prints for him. And then I'm going to then I have to do either that stupid display board, but I want to paint another model from Miniac's Kickstarter thing. So that's what I want to do. We'll see if I'm responsible or not. Who knows? Probably I can work on both at once, because most of the early part of working on a display board is like cutting styrofoam and then gluing it together and then letting it sit for a day.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, so it's not like it takes a lot of time. All right. So, but I'm excited about this demon dude. He's coming out fun, and he was a good chance to play with lighting effects. All right, let's get into it, gentlemen. Here we go. Let's talk about OBR. Them Bone Daddies. Bringing them up. Okay. So, the Bone Daddies in Age of Sigmar 3.0. Is this the most 2.0 army? Yes. Is it the Book of Nine Swords? Yes. If you know that reference, congratulations. But this is an army that's had a few changes recently. Some things have moved around. We're going to start with a little summary. What is this meant to be? Okay? And Meph, I'm gonna read my stuff, and then I want to go to you.
Oh, no,
okay?
No, you're good, man.
All right. I think what this is meant to be...
to thwart the PowerPoint. Like,
yeah. What, like, this army seems to be thematically. Like, you look at it narratively. What do they want? Okay, they want this attrition force that wins in the grind, right? It's got this heavy reliance on their core troop, the Mortec Guard. It's like their phalanx force. It was held up in early 3.0 by Nagash, so that has likely changed. It felt like it was designed to work like a legion, like a Roman legion or something, right? Where you have sort of infantry to hold, cavalry to countercharge, elite troops to strike soft points, artillery to support. I don't know that it's really played out like that in reality, right?
It hasn't.
It is a relatively small army, though not amongst the smallest. It's not Iron Jaws or Fire Slayers like we were talking about. There are 8 non-hero troops in the army. So that places it on the mid-small side of the various forces.
Not 3?
Yes, I understand. Like I said, it's not Iron Jaws or Fire Slayers. I call it pseudo-elite. Sure. Because Mortec honestly weren't as elite as I thought they were going to be when we all first looked at them. I expected them to be Chaos Warrior or Stormcast type equivalents, where they were all kind of like on 32s or something, with like 2 wounds each. Like, I thought they were Nagash's attempt to make Stormcast.
They were.
Yeah, narratively they are.
In fact,
rules-wise,
Stormcast are Sigmar's attempt to make Mortek Guard, because Nagash was making his project first.
Clearly.
For you Lord nerds out there.
I'm just saying, if I had to do the who wore it better, sorry, but it was definitely the Stormcast. That's all there is to it. All right. Meth, I'm going over to you. Is my summary relatively correct? Is there anything I left out? What do you think?
No, I think you kind of nailed it. I contest the held up by Nagash early type thing, in that it was something they could do, and it was seeing play, but it wasn't like they were like even really like rocking 4-1 best death winning tournaments. Like, it wasn't even
unless they were piloted by the Owen Jackson. Yes, correct.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Like, so. I mean, then that's like a little bit of an oversell of early 3.0, I think.
Fair.
And then, as far as the design to work like the classic Phalanx Force, they kind of got there. Like, you usually saw Mortek Guard with a unit of like Cavalos as like a keepback unit to go out and do some stuff. You never saw their more elite troops though, which is honestly a crime because they're awesome. Like, they look cool. Don't you want Goro Super Shredder skeletons? I do. Like, relatively small pseudo elite. One of the big selling points for me, who, as aforementioned, has way too many other undead types of armies. I like the idea of pushing around like only 50 models for once instead of like 120. I liked that idea. I thought that was really cool.
Double the number I generally push around. Yeah, I get it. 50. Yeah, that's so many.
Yeah.
But yes, it's pseudo elite. It's not a horde army. I get it.
I mean, you're undead, so like you still want to feel like you've got the like undead bits, and like it felt like they really hit that for me in 2.0. It felt like they kind of hit that stride in between like what I wanted and like how it played in terms of that, like, okay, less mental bandwidth being used up physically piloting my army, but I still get to like her laugh and regen some skeletons.
Sure.
So yeah. Summary on the 10 checks out for me.
Okay. Tom, anything else on the summary?
No, I mean, I think it's accurate. Like, it's it's been a long journey for this army, because it's been just like running from one crutch to another.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It was a sub-faction for a while, and then it was Nagash, and then it just, yeah. I feel for OBR players.
People can go back to the episode where I got my moniker and became the most dangerous man. When I said that the army was like, it was covering up some flaws of the army, and people were too busy complaining about like Petrifex Elite to see that there were things that needed addressing. And it's weird how correct I've been. No,
I totally agree. It's very much like it is in a state where Lumineth could be if you like nerfed Sentinels and Techless, let's say, into the ground.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where like you still have a pretty decent infantry force. Your main
Mortek Guard still slap, and people are still surprised when they bounce into them and get blended currently right now. Like,
yeah, the Mortek Warden like analogy is spot on, right? It's a solid infantry. Yeah. Many armies would be happy to have them, perfectly fine, but on its own, their shoulders aren't broad enough to carry the whole force to victory. They were mainly relying on other too efficient tricks or whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, cool beans. Although it's not this army has some complexity, but not near at the level of.
I'm just holding my tongue.
Of LRL.
You go through these slides.
I just didn't want people to overread into my analogy there, so there we go.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some of the changes that have happened recently, okay? Because this army has had a series of 2 fairly significant changes that have happened recently. So, the Winter FAQ had some changes that really impacted OBR. Not points, but well, I have the points here too, right? And a lot of that came through Nagash, right? This is change number 1 was the Winter FAQ. So Nagash had some big changes, as did all the big god characters to a point, right?
Kind of like they focused on them exclusively for the Big Winter FAQ and ignored everything else.
Yeah, indeed. So we're going to flip over to Nagash in just a moment. I think the important part about this that I want to just mention right here is that one of the changes they sort of made across the board, for the most part, and I don't hate this change in concept, is that these cross-faction gods are now sit above the army that they join. Like, they don't absorb the allegiance abilities of the armies they join. Which, thematically, narratively, I have zero issue with. Right?
It makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, like, I didn't join up with OBR and suddenly that's who I am. No, I'm Nagash. You're here with me.
You're joining me. Yeah, you're locked in here with me.
You joined me.
Right. Yep. Perfect.
So, like, you know, that makes sense. The same for Archeon and so on and so forth, right? Same with Kragnos and whatnot. But, it really had an impact on his play in OBR because Ossiarch Bone Reapers has their own set of rules that like, they have this own little weird kiddie pool they play in. And Nagash is still sitting over here in the normal pool of the game, like, hey guys, what's up? What's going on over in your little pool? You know, and so, but they don't cross over anymore at all.
He goes into Ossiarch Bone Reapers and can no longer use a command ability on his own War Scroll. Like,
in the FAQ, they allow him to use that command ability.
Sure. But he can't use, like, general
adjust it.
Like,
but they had to adjust it.
Right.
They had to errata it further. Like, within the errata. Like, he doesn't have a death save cross-faction wise. Like, the god of death, like, just doesn't have that anymore. Like, just nope, no death save. Like, you don't get. I don't know, but like you said, like, there should be a god package. You know, like, all the god models just get the package. Like, they stand on a mountain. They should probably all be immune to death effects, like every one of them across the game. They should all probably know the allegiance spells. Like, the god package is fine, but like, Nagash was kind of relying on going into Ossiarch Bone Reaper specifically and scooping up some allegiance abilities to, like, that's what he was doing kind of different. Soul Blight Gravelords, he really doesn't care about their allegiance abilities. He's not using them. He doesn't care. And I'd say Nighthaunt, in fact, he wasn't using them before, and so now that he's even there to begin with is kind of like, hey, hooray.
Right.
But in Ossiarch Bone Reapers, like, the cheekier, like, Johnny builds, you're doing stuff where you're running and charging in Staliarch Lords, which shouldn't have made anyone upset. It's, like, the most hilarious thing. Like, he flies in and, like, he runs and charges and he retreats over you and he's flying around and he's just nothing personal kidding you, like, nothing personnel kid, teleporting around, like, playing like an anime character. Awesome. You know, sure, in Petrifex Elite, negating Rend looks neat, but you put him in Staliarch Lords, it's way more fun. Like, but yeah, so he was, like, getting something special, and they said no, like, to use a Haywo-ism, fun detected, no fun allowed. Like, just, I think that was kind of one of the bigger crimes, and just, like, sort of ancillarily, when you have that word that we all hate, which is, you know, ludonarrative dissonance, well, 2 words, I suppose. Like, he suddenly forgets how to issue command abilities when he goes into the most elite tactical version of Undead.
Right.
Like, he just can't, forgot how to, like, tell things to rally now. Like, all right, man, like, you do you, bro.
Right. And it created this really weird rules overlap. Yeah. Or not.
No all-out assault, Nagash. You cannot have an all-out assault for yourself anymore.
Yeah, no, he can't do it here.
Right.
Yep.
All the mindless undead, you can do it over there with all the mindless idiot undead. Like, 120 zombies in Nagash, you're good. The tactical geniuses, like, no, can't do it.
Right.
Or even yourself, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can't do it for himself.
Correct. He can't use any other command abilities except the one on his War Scroll, and he uses that for an RDP. Yes.
So he can, let's get this right, he can, in another army, use those on himself. But when he's with OBR, he's like, no, I'm going to self-limit myself while I'm here.
Yeah, he's like, I didn't build these guys to know this stuff. The problem is, as Meph said,
but
he's been working on the army so long. No, that's the challenge.
He can't give himself the command.
Yeah, he's really focused on the project, Tom. He hasn't adjusted to that new world yet. When he goes into the other armies, the trick is he's got those hot-blooded vampires or whatever who are around and who are like, "Yo, Nagash, you heard about this all-out attack thing, bro? It's crazy. You should give it a try." And he's like, "Oh, cool." And he's like, I see now. He gets that's a zoomer. All-out attack, that's like a zoomer thing, okay?
Yeah, he's Boomer. He's trying to.
Yeah, Boomer Nagash doesn't know that until he gets over there into the army with the young
and
kids.
Stuff, and then he figures it out. Or it's an Inigo Montoya thing where he's like, why are you smiling? He's like, oh, I know something you don't. I'm not left-handed.
Right.
And then he throws the rapier over into the other hand and joins Soulblight Gravelords or whatever.
Yeah.
So he just stays left-handed the entire time in OBR.
Yes, correct. He plays the long game. It's
Yes. Azer Weekly is dropping some really great comments, by the way, in the chat, which I love. Everybody should give a like just because Azer Weekly's funny. That has nothing to do with us. You should just like it anyways because he's here dropping these awesome comments. I particularly liked God of Deathface's performance anxiety when deployed with elite shock troops. Yes, absolutely correct.
It's a great headline.
Yeah. So hit that like button, subscribe, do fun things. All right. So the points adjustments are almost nothing to speak of. I don't know that anybody played Xantos. I don't know that I ever saw him in many lists.
He hilariously...
Cavalos is fine.
When you ran catapults before in Mortis Praetorians exactly, in 2.0,
got it. Okay.
You would specifically bring a Xantos for re-rolling a bunch of gnarly stuff.
I'm so thankful they adjusted his points then.
Yeah, he's now cheaper than the generic version, which is we've done mission accomplished banner. It gets hung. We've finally done it. Right. A hero is cheaper than its generic version. A named hero, the one who has ascended the ranks of that thing, has finally.
But as we can see, it's often not enough. I mean, look, Shalaxi's cheaper than the regular Keeper Secrets, and I don't know that that's making any difference either. And then Volk Mortian, which is comical at down 20. To move a 150.5 model down 20 points is a bold statement, and I still don't think anybody will play him, but that really says something. It really says something about how much you screwed up. The first guy we were ever introduced to in the first teaser trailer for OBR, which was a great trailer. Right?
Yeah, was Volk Mortian.
It caused some weirdos to go out there and just start a podcast. That's how good that trailer was.
And you know what the best part about it is?
What's that?
He was probably seen more in that trailer than he's ever seen the battlefield.
Yeah, indeed. Also true. And then Catacross came down 20, which is fine. That was actually a good change. It's not that a bunch of people are playing Catacross, although there are lists with Catacross around. Certainly he is in a couple potential builds. So him getting cheaper is fine. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
he could probably come down slightly more, but that's fine.
He's approaching about as aggressively costed as one can be with just the sheer volume of abilities on that War Scroll, Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, your list isn't made or break. You're not making or breaking a list on Catacross.
Right.
So
yeah,
he's not an auto include necessarily. He should be. He's awesome enough. That sculpt is perfect.
So Is Volk Mortian the Lotan of the army?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
100% yes.
Yeah. He had a battalion where you might have maybe once upon a time, seen him, and now it's just
no.
Yeah, he's 100% the Lotan of the list. It's a great call, Tom. All right, let's talk about Nagash specifically. So here's his scroll. And it's funny because you'd have to forgive people who weren't super tuned in to OBR for not understanding what the problem is, right? Because, if you look at this scroll versus his old scroll, and you're not, a Bone Daddy enthusiast, you're like, I don't get it. What changed? What's wrong? Right? You're not really going to see it.
Hello,
right?
old friend.
Yeah, he's still a wizard. He still casts, an alarmingly large number of spells, right? He's a War Master now, and which he wasn't before. He's a bonus Jenny, and he can go into, as previously mentioned. Now he can go into Night Haunt and FEC as well. So cool. Nothing to do with OBR, but just as a note.
Mm-hmm.
Still has his Alakanesh where he can arcane bolt like a million times, and then after he Super Saiyan powers
Yeah, he does the
up or
DBZ
something.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then goes and punches somebody into the atmosphere with 8 arcane bolts or 7 arcane bolts or something.
Yeah,
right.
That's great.
He can still restore to 5 units. That is to say, like summonable or Ossiarch Bone Reapers, so they get called out by name here.
Can't heal himself anymore though.
Correct.
This is a nerf.
Yep.
Right.
He cannot heal himself. He still has his 4+ ward against mortal wounds only. Only mortal wounds. Not
he
wounds
lost
and
his
mortal
death
wounds.
save.
He no longer has his, but then again, that's not on the scroll, right? It never was there, and that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like it's like a lot of what changed is sort of sneaky in how he got implemented, right? Because it wasn't like that ever. It never said this guy has a 6+ ward against wounds and mortal wounds on his scroll. Now, as a point of fact, he always did, right? Because whatever army you put him in, he was a hero and absorbed that rule. But now he doesn't, right? And so I think it's just interesting how much things off scroll changed about him, right?
True.
So it's, and like his Supreme Lord of Undead doesn't work with the things you'd want it to work with.
Doesn't get Locus of Shyish anymore either.
Correct.
I just want to flip tables every time I think about how much they hurt my boy. Like I'm the Godfather right now.
And I think again, importantly to OBR, he had obviously this command ability that was like reroll 1s to save army wide.
Had to go away
into battle shock.
Yep.
Obviously, it needed to go away. But the funny part is,
hack.
What's that?
Like across the OP is all hack across the whole army. No range. It was just reroll 1s to save, which is awesome in OBR. Awesome, on a 4-up saving army unit or army kind of table wide. Nombos a little bit with shield wall, but then it makes your stalkers feel better. So it kind of cool across the whole army. Great in Soulblight Gravelords. Stellar.
It was.
But the reroll 1s to hit is really where you're like, that was the money shot. And then as a bonus, good in Soulblight Gravelords, Battle Shock immune across the table too.
Right.
Yep. Like beyond contestation, just an insanely strong ability. I was told by people when I was looking at Nagash coming into 3.0 at his points going, he's overcosted. They said, no. Think of his command ability. That's why he costs about 200 points too much. And I went, sure. It
was a very potent command ability. I mean, arguably, it was one of the strongest command abilities in the game, right? I mean, I'm not saying the most. I'm saying if you made a top 10 list of value you get for 1 CP, it would easily make that list. That wouldn't have even been a question.
It would be in the top 3.
Right.
I'd agree.
Yeah. And the interesting part about it was amplified in its power in OBR. What I mean by that is, if you were in old Legion or Soulblight, depending on what you ran, rerolling 1s to save, and sometimes rerolling 1s to hit even, kind of can have a effect, right? Because you might have a lot of dudes with 5-up saves, no save, 6-up saves, right? When you've got a bunch of low save people and you're rerolling 1s, it's like, oh, okay, I can, because it just doesn't matter. If you're saving on a 6 and you reroll 1s, so 1/6 of your 1s become successful saves, right? Then it's a 1/6 of a 1/6, effectively. You get a bonus 1 in 36 saves are successful.
Just for rate of play with my Nagash and 120 skeleton style builds or my SPG modern builds, I wouldn't even re-roll the saves. I'd roll them, go, okay, cool. Because at that point you're looking at the regen. As long as the unit's not getting wiped or it's not a pivotal combat where it's coming down to the model, I'll just scoop them off. Sure, whatever. Just for efficiency of playing, because I'm the a-hole who chose to play a 200 model army, so I need to be quicker. That's on me. So you find
when you put that ability into OBR, where you oftentimes had people on 3-up saves pretty easily, okay, then all of a sudden rerolling 1s pays off a ton, a much bigger dividend, right? because then 2/3 of that 1/6 becomes successful. Like it makes a big difference on the number, right?
And the quality of unit you're keeping is much, much higher.
Right.
You know, like, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that changed. That's all gone now. That command ability left, and that had, like, my point is to say that had an outsized impact on OBR versus the other armies he would have found himself in.
Well, previously, like, we've been talking about how a bunch of things got nerfed off scroll, right? Because of, like, the death saves and stuff like that, about him coming into armies.
Sure.
Well, this is an example about him bringing something into an army that he no longer brings. And so the cut actually ended up going both ways, because he no longer was benefiting from the things that the armies were bringing. And now he's no longer bringing those things that he used to bring that made him worthwhile bringing. And so it's like, it was just a double whammy for him, particularly in OBR.
Right. So now his new thing is you pick a unit and they get, you know, +1 to
one
ward
after
rolls for that combat phase. Now, look, +1 to ward is a pretty rarefied bonus, to be honest. Okay.
I made my peace with this, Vince. I had like that one day where I was emotional. I saw like what they did to my boy, and I made my peace with it. I'm like, he's like, Nagash got nerfed overall, but Flesh Eater Courts and Night Hunt got a buff. Ossiarch Bone Reapers really got nerfed, and I'd gone through all this, and now I'm having like trauma flashbacks because they took away his had to be changed way too good command ability, and they gave him a third rail ability in my mind. Like, I don't care that it's good; it's something you shouldn't do. You shouldn't be augmenting ward saves.
Yeah. I will die on the hill of, like, re-rolling a ward is a never should be done, and yet somehow Doc have done it through multiple books. Adding to wards for me isn't quite as strong as you're saying it, but it's not far off. Like,
you're playing in space that is sacred.
Yeah, and here's what I'll say. If it's on one model in the game, and that one model's nearly 1,000 points, I'm probably okay with it.
Fair.
So that would be, like, if we're talking about
the gods... He can't even modify his own, because he doesn't have one!
Yeah.
Like...
Well, it also has to be an other unit. Like, he can use it on an other unit. So he can't make his 4 up a 3 up, yes.
He can't even cheat for himself at 1,000 points.
Yes. So, and his spells are the same, so whatever.
He still gets the spell lore.
What's that? Yeah, and he knows the spell lore, yes. Of whatever army he joins, which is cool.
Yeah, right. God package.
Yeah, God package, right. We're all on board with that, it makes sense, yes. With it, A+. A+ work, keep doing that. No problems.
Yep.
Okay. What the point here is, these subtle changes and off-scroll changes combine. Even though when you read, like, whoa, +1 to ward save is a really unique thing, the problem is it's one unit and one combat phase that they get it. Now, you're dealing with RDP, you have a lot more of them, blah, 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 whatever. It's not constrained in the same way that it is, but it's still nowhere near the same level, right? And all this stuff combined to hit OBR the hardest. And take Nagash not out of the picture completely, but certainly less effective in OBR. Is that a fair statement, you think?
The way I had partitioned off my armies in the future, the plans I was making, Soulblight Gravelords is like kind of like my sandbox. I go and I play in there and I have a lot of fun. Sure. And Nagash was just going to live in Ossiarch Bone Reapers for 3.0. That was the only place I was going to pull him out, because I was trying to wean myself off of playing him. And these changes came down and I just went, he doesn't, like, because that was his sandbox. He went over in Ossiarch Bone Reapers, and that was Nagash's sandbox where he had all this fun. And he's not, like, now he's just sad in the sandbox because it rained and, like, he hates mud. Like, it sucks.
Sure. Absolutely. Tom, like, anything we missed on Big Pop and Nagash?
No, he just makes me sad in OBR.
Sure.
I mean,
he's everywhere else. He's
not Nighthaunt, but he definitely makes me sad here.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, well, you know, it closes a door, opens a window type of thing, right? So when Nagash, he closed the door to OBR and opened the window of ghosts. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good. No, flaunt it more.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So that was big change number 1 for OBO.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about big change number 2, which I don't think I ever actually did my pick of the week because we got distracted, but that's fine. I guess I'll talk about it now. Exactly as I intended, which is Goonhammer did a wonderful breakdown of the Tome Celestial. Credit to Robert the Surgeon. I don't know how to pronounce that. I hope I'm saying it right. Surgeon Jones, who did this awesome piece of artwork. So that's super cool. And the full article is on Goonhammer and linked below. So go check that out if you want a deeper dive on everything related to their Tome Celestial. But that was the second big change recently, right? They're getting their Bone Daddy White Dwarf update, which likely means no book is coming soon. It gave some decent updates, but still fell short of what many were hoping. Okay. Now, I want to get an emotional reaction from you, from Meph here. Meph, when you heard that the Bone Daddies were getting a White Dwarf update, what was your immediate gut emotional reaction? How did you feel about that?
I can't swear on your show.
Correct.
So I immediately went out. I actually walked. It began raining because such was my emotions. So I actually, instead of driving, I walked to the nearest Quick Trip. Shoutouts to my Midwest stands who understand how great Quick Trip is, and bought a 40 ounce of Colt 45. And then I walked to the gutter and I immediately poured it out with my head still being rained upon, even though it's cold months here in Wisconsin. Immediately poured out the 40 because I knew Wave 2 wasn't coming.
Yeah.
It was the minute that Tome Celestial.
Did you like play Walk in the Rain off the Cowboy Bebop OST as well?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was just a loop of Walk in the Rain off of the Bebop OST and the credits song from the Hulk live action TV show.
Perfect. Yes, those would be the two.
Interwoven too, and I poured it out. The cloud followed exactly me. It was it was rough because like it's weird because like I'm like in like Soulblight I've played a lot of Nagash, and I did the pronunciation just for you, chat. You're welcome. I played a lot of Nagash. I played him through the thick and thin when he was great, when he wasn't, like when his overpoweredness was like grossly exaggerated, when like way better armors were out, like literally poison pilling him, like talking about Daughters of Cain. And like I was like, you know what? I'm like, I went to Wapaka 2 years ago, Nagash with Ossiarch Bone Reapers. I'm like, this is kind of going to be my last hurrah for Nagash, and then he's kind of going to go sit on the shelf next to my Beast of Chaos, where I pull him out on like special occasions, but like I'm going to go all in on vampires. I want to spend the next year on vampires, just like really rocking it, get my hobby game up, like just go all in on the vampires. And so I was like kind of like in this area, and I'm like, you know what? But like, I'm gonna wait for like that when that wave 2 hits of Ossiarch Bone Reapers. I'm just gonna like hit the ground, and I'm gonna come back fully rejuvenated. Like, and they found a way to like hurt me in my retirement. Like this
sure.
Like they found a way. Like I wasn't even in the ring. And they like called me from the crowd, like it was like hey,
like you were
like,
always bad at boxing. Click.
Yeah, like, come on down. Like we got the special halftime show thing for the boxing ring. You can win a prize. And I'm like, oh, I can win a prize? Hell yeah! And I come in the ring, and then like just Mike Tyson comes, and just jaws me, and that was the prize I won. To use your getting punched in the face analogy from earlier.
Yeah.
And just like I thought I won something, and they're like, you did. Here's a Tome Celestial, and that was. Like, they found a way to hurt me more, Vince.
I understand.
They found a way to hurt me more.
That was exactly what I was looking for. Thank you. Perfect. I was trying to get that exact reaction, so that's wonderful. Tom, what did you think when you saw this? Were you excited? Did you think this was going to be good, bad? What was your feeling?
It's fine. That was my response. I looked at it and I was like, it's just the same.
Sure. I wonder.
It's turtles all the way down.
Yeah, I mean, look, this show has been quite clear with its stance on the Tome Celestials. They are bad and shouldn't be the method of rules updates because it is 2022.
And bad for the game.
Yes, because we shouldn't be putting these kinds of rules patches into a publication that gets sold once every couple months, into a printed publication. It's wacky to me. And they introduce a lot of negative things. Now, sometimes we've still got rules that are fun. I was happy to see the stuff that was in Legion of Blood, so don't mishear me that I think everything they've done was bad. I think the vehicle is bad. And I think that if they were going to do stuff like this, honestly, I would have rather seen them just publish a single book with real sizable updates and just been like, hey, look, real talk for a moment, guys. What's in this book? You ain't getting a new tome anytime soon. It's just the reality of publishing. We can't publish 25 books at once. Okay? There's only so many people who work here. We're working hard. We're going to try to churn them out as fast as we can. But for those people who aren't getting stuff soon, here's a book. By the way, this is what they're doing in 40K. They haven't outwardly said it. But the next, I don't know exactly what the name of the thing is, but there's an update coming out where literally they're updating several armies that are clearly not getting books. And they're just going to give them patch rules until then with like stratagems and stuff. So, I would have just rather sell me a $40 book that has the 12 armies you plan to do Tome Celestials on.
That's fine.
We used to make money. This.
Yeah.
It was in the General's Handbook.
Sure. Absolutely correct, Tom.
Like, I understand they went to the smaller form factor of the General's Handbook. Awesome. That's great. Let's go back to like a 2022 annual that launches in December. Right, yeah. that is a
FAQ, right?
So right around the big FAQ, like so it's associated time just right, and when that drops, it's a $40 purchase. Updates for 4 to 6 armies that need, that need touched. Maybe a couple scenarios. Maybe they can do something spicy, do some alternative rules like what used to be in the General's Handbook.
Yeah, non-matched play stuff. Go nuts. Throw in a couple wacky rule sets or optional things.
Bring your Anvil Apotheosis back with like yearly patches to new shenanigans you can throw on that. Like
whatever. Go nuts.
Sound like let me throw like maybe it can have like a narrative section and an open section and a match play section. And
this is wild, Tom. This is wild stuff.
And do it in December. And I don't know. It's a thing that I think people would buy. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But be transparent about it. That's my point. Say, look, these books aren't getting updated in this cycle. Whatever that cycle means. But hey, players who play those armies, we want to show you we care about your army, and we don't want to leave you out in the cold. So instead, here you go. Here's some stuff. Great. Sell me a thing.
Transparency is huge, and Games Workshop fans, Warhammer players, we want to give you our money for good stuff. We like I will throw money playfully at my screen right now and buy a third battle tome I don't need just because it's got art I think is cool, and it might I'm looking for an excuse to hand money to Games Workshop at any given time. The thing that hurts the most about the Ossiarch Bone Reapers specifically is I'm gonna speak in certain terms here and not nebulous ones. Like, this is the army that most needed to be brought into 3.0.
Sure.
That
because
most
they are
needed
completely orthogonal to the new rules paradigm. Yes.
Yeah. I'm gonna, when we get into some stuff later on, I'll talk a little bit about it. But when Ossiarch Bone Reapers sort of beta tested new command abilities, which is what it felt like with RDP. RDP was just a better, cleaner system for command points.
Yes.
And
as we said, honestly, it's a book of 9 swords, 1,000%. Yes.
Yeah. And when that came out, I was like, hey, awesome. Like, everyone now gets to have as much fun with their command abilities as I was having with RDP. You know, I will take this L for a little bit. You know, like, I will hold that. That is the sacrifice we benevolently made for everybody else out there. You're welcome. Ossiarch Bone Reapers, Nagash once more proving he is a benevolent god, giving you a better command point system. And I was like, so we're going to take that L and we'll hold on to that for a little bit. And I'm like, but, and we said crap on the internet, and by we, I mean the endless, multitudinous legions said stuff on the internet, and got a direct reply from Ben Johnson and said, just wait. Like, so we're like, okay, so we're waiting for this FAQ that's coming out. Nothing came to save us. We got more RDP that we still can't spend. And then we got the Tome Celestial. So now nothing has still saved us. And I actually have positive things to say about the Tome Celestial. I have some positive stuff to say.
We're going to go into detail, folks, by the way, on the Tome Celestial.
This was not the, oh, just wait, you're going to get your fix. Like, this is not the just wait, you're going to be brought into 3.0. This was the just wait, you're still waiting. That's what happened.
Yeah.
Like,
you got a little taste, a little appetizer, but it didn't fill you up. I'm afraid a third of a gopher would only arouse my hunger without properly bedding it back down. All right, so and Barry Carter, hey, thank you. It's very much appreciated, and I'm glad you enjoy it. All right, let's get into this Tome Celestial. I'm not going to talk about the open play stuff, by the by, or the Path to Glory stuff. Sorry, but this is the world we live in. So, Relentless Discipline. If your army's an OBR army, you don't receive command points. Instead, you receive RDP. Okay, fine. Great, as we expected.
Oh.
So, no problem yet. And at the start of the battle round, after determining who will take which turn, you receive 1 discipline point for each friendly OBR hero that's on the battlefield, 1 RDP for each friendly liege that's on the battlefield, and 3 if you have Catacross as your general and on the battlefield. Okay, so you get a good number of these, is the point, right? So if you got 3 heroes, one of whom is Catacross, another guy's a liege, and then let's say another one is just a normal hero, then you're getting 6 off of that. Wait, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 6. No, I'm not right. 8. Sorry. There we go. 8. Bad at math.
More than you can use.
Yes, sure, a lot. Yeah, 8. I miscounted the men. I apologize. In my own example. And then in addition, if you take the first turn, you get 1 RDP. If you take the second turn, you get 2 RDP, so matching to command points. Although obviously it's not really a 1-to-1 because that actually is a huge deal with command points in many armies. Right. Where you're like,
the effects are bigger.
Yeah, it's so much bigger. Oftentimes you'll be playing into the double and be, oof, God, but I only have 1 command point. Like, it hurts, it stings. You often still play into the double if you set yourself up right, but geez, Pete's, it does hurt sometimes.
You feel it. Yeah, you feel it.
And then at the start of each hero phase, roll a die for each friendly OBR unit on the battlefield, including any heroes. For each 6, you receive 1 extra RDP. So probably like a couple more right there. Yes. Okay.
1 or 2.
Yeah, exactly. So the point being is that you could pretty easily, depending on your exact hero makeup, have somewhere between like 6 and a dozen of these, right?
Just a fistful.
Around. Let's, whatever's going on. Okay. Sound right so far, Meph? You get a lot of RDP. Like, numbers that if we said they were command points, you'd be like, what madness is going on in this army? Right? Even Seraphon would be jealous of this insane number of command points. Okay.
Yeah, only Gloomspite gets is looking at you and scoffing,
Right. Right. Okay. So, let's get into the action now. Using RDP, they're used to issue commands, but they can only issue the broad sweep of Ossiarch command abilities. Okay? Which is either these 3 things we're about to talk about that are new. Well, 2 of them are new. One of them existed before, yeah. The ones that are printed on War Scrolls, or the subfaction ones as they would exist. Okay. How However, the restriction that you cannot use the same command ability more than once in the same phase does not apply to Ossiarch command abilities. For example, you can use Shield Wall command ability on Mortek Guard War Scroll more than once in that same phase, as long as the command ability is issued by a model that has not already issued a command, and received by a unit that has not already received it. So there's no stacking still.
Right.
Which, yeah.
Sure, it's like
you're not able to get away with like Nagash dumping all the points and issuing using his command ability to buff everybody.
His command ability should just already take care of that, though. And like, I got to save this take for a minute. Keep going, Vince. Keep going. You're in the flow. You're in the zone.
Sure. So the point is, like, you've got your traditional one unstoppable advance, which has existed since the book, which is the +3 inches to move.
It makes the army work.
Right. So in the movement phase, you could have the Hekatos in this unit issue it to that unit, and the Hekatos in this unit issue it to that unit, and the elite unit over here issue it to itself, and they all move 3 extra inches. Like, that is perfectly legal and doable. But you can't have a single hero go, you move +3 inches, and then have that same hero go, you move +3 inches twice, nor can you have him go to a single unit, you move +3, do it again. Right? He can't give it to the same unit twice. Okay. Before we get into the command abilities, hit me, Meph, your thoughts so far on this stuff.
So I there's a very important thing to note when you're talking RDP that I think went over people's head even previous edition.
Okay.
There are entire armies out there that have command abilities that have allegiance abilities that just do stuff.
Sure.
You know, you've got Smashing and Bashing, just does its thing. You've got like Locus of Shaiish, zombie 6-inch pile-ins. You've got Riders of Ruin, which is like the overrun thing on Blood Knights, just going in-house, just staying within my own house. You know, you've got Great Bray Shaman +3-inch move running everybody within a sphere of them, straight up where I have to use a Relentless Discipline, also staying in-house for another army I play, which is Beast of Chaos.
Sure, you could point to something like so a good example of, I think, what you're talking about, Meph, that's going to make your point well, is consider the Lord Arcanum on Torlon in Stormcast, who has a thing where you can just land near people and give them +1 to hit for the foreseeable future, right? Mm-hmm. Because he moved near them. Right? Mm-hmm. There was no command points were exchanged. It's just I moved, I had this buff that then pulsed out for me, done and dusted. Okay, that's the kind of thing you're talking about.
Right. I'm not making a case for like RDP bad, mind you. I just want to put into context for people that RDP is your allegiance ability. You look at the allegiance abilities in your book. It says immune to battle shock. You have relentless discipline points. What is it? Ranks like unbroken by descent is the rule, and that's what gives you all this stuff. That's it. And then you get sub allegiance abilities, but everyone gets sub allegiance abilities. Everyone gets free stuff, right? Like that's it.
Steven.
They get yeah.
Or your Tome Celestial's on the way, I assure you. That'll totally fix all your problems. No, but the thing is, like, we've entered a world where things just do stuff. And so we have this resource that isn't like an aside to existing resources, how some armies have like depravity points and command points, or how Nurgle pseudo has 3 resources right now between contagion points, command points, and disease points.
Sure.
You know, like we have one resource to track that supplanted another resource and is all of our allegiance abilities.
Yep. Well, it's the point being is that a lot of buff type style things that some armies might just get all are effectively been routed through the RDP engine. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that is Aether Gold for KO. Let's be very clear. Sure. Except they don't ever refresh it. Like Aether Gold is KO's entire command allegiance, and not everybody gets it.
Sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's.
But you also get command abilities too, right? Like.
Yeah. You know, I mean, exactly. You could point to like, yes, there is a way for people to get a share during the fight, just so people don't come after us for like, because there's the one sub faction
for sub allegiance
where you can.
But everybody gets sub allegiance
gold. But yes.
I was already like kind of like solving for zero with sub allegiances, saying we all get sub allegiance abilities. Right. That's not relevant to what I'm.
And that's what I was acknowledging is that KO at that highest level, they are likewise starved as far as allegiance abilities go.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not even weighing in on multiple resources as a take to begin with. By the way, I'm just saying this is it, and some armies get their stuff for free. We get a weapon
especially
procs.
utility buff style things. That being the key. Having a thing printed on your war scroll that's like you do a thing better. That's pretty common across all forces, and there are units in OBR that do that as well. But buff style
we have Mad Right
things
Blades.
Yeah, exactly, right. But unit buff style things where suddenly the unit can gain a random buff or affect somebody else with a buff.
Or move, right?
Yeah, that kind of stuff is in OBR mostly, they're basically just routed through RDP. Okay, it doesn't use a sub resource. It doesn't happen for free. It happens for this one resource that supplanted command points as well. Okay, so because they don't get to use the fun stuff of rally, all-out defense, all-out attack, the standards that we've all come to know and love.
I mean, Rally is huge.
Use
How
the
much
heck
has
out of.
Yeah, 3.0 has changed on the face of Rally alone, right?
I mean, I've won many games off of redeploy.
Yeah, or sorry, redeploy.
I knew.
Rally feels like you should be rallying back, and Rally's the one that puts you redeploy. Sorry, redeploy has changed the face of 3.0 alone.
100%.
I mean, both of them are pretty good.
They're both massive. It just some armies are better poised to take advantage of rally than others.
Certainly.
Redeploy, when used correctly, will win you games.
Yeah,
that's
redeploying basically forward. Yeah.
Redeploy forward, redeploy back, delay charges, force charges. Just it is a skill tester's paradise. What redeploy is, right? Anyways, okay.
Yeah.
The point is, this army just does not have access to that basic tool that everybody else gets. Okay. Great. What are your Ossiarch command abilities that you've been granted? So you still retain Unstoppable Advance. It's the same as it always was.
Bread and butter.
Yep. Just great. 3 inches to normal move, run, or retreat. Okay. Cool. Great. And then your 2 new ones. Reknit Constructs, which is a lot of text to say you can either, as long as a unit isn't in combat, right, you can either heal D3 wounds or restore D3 wounds worth of models if there's no outstanding wounds. So you can reknit more tech and get D3 back, or put D3 wounds back on your Morghast that you only use if you're a cool person, because they are still some of the coolest looking. This army does have some of the coolest looking hyper elite troops. I have to give it to that. Like the all their big boys are just sweet as.
And you have a death bias. It's been marked on this show multiple times. Sure. But yeah, go on.
I do.
So that means that comes for twice the amount of a normal person's compliment to our models.
But I mean, 100% it should.
I mean, Death has beautiful models. There's not a single range that's bad. Like maybe Flesh Eater Courts.
Flesh Eater Courts is a little bit of a blank slate.
But their regular ghouls are terrible. Okay. At any rate, yes, that's what it is. It's rally, but mostly worse, sometimes better. It's a heal. That's what it is. The trick is you can't be in combat, just like rally. Okay, fine. And then unflinching coordination, which is in the combat phase, and you take after a friendly. Okay, I'm not even going to read all the stupid text because it's too complicated to read. It's their new favorite thing. At some point in writing 3.0, they stumbled upon the chain activation trick of the chump hero fights with his unit, because somebody in design realized that there was a reverse incentive to fighting with units and heroes, to where you never wanted to put even your combat hero into like your non-monster combat hero. I mean, here basically into combat, because the natural state of affairs would be you charge with a unit and you charge with him or her, and then obviously the unit fights first because the combat hero is going to basically do nothing, and then the unit's going to turn around and whoever you're fighting, if they didn't get blown off the table, is going to turn around and kill the hero, right? And so now they've discovered this chain activation thing, and when that friendly hero fights, they can bring a unit with them. So it switches the things. They did this in Nurgle a bunch of ways to have the Nurgle foot heroes pull their units, their associated units in there. Okay.
Are you going to get to the heroic action in the same bit, or are we still going to talk command abilities here?
We're going to say command abilities for a second, but then we're going to go to the heroic actions. They are a bright spot of this to me, honestly. Okay, so Reknit and unflinching coordination. What do these do for you, Meph? What are these doing for you?
Like, Reknit is like 1 out of every 3 turns I use Reknit.
Sure.
And I have a wealth of RDP. Like, because of how Ossiarch Bone Reapers plays as an army, people need to understand there are no tricks here, just fists. No flipping, no teleporting. Our catapult now sucks.
It's a pretty straight melee army, so most things are probably fighting. Add to the fact it's a grind attrition army, and they're going to be in combat for a while. Yeah.
So you need to get in play, like, you need to go for your win stroke, like, whatever your plan to win is, you go for it right away. That doesn't mean, like, go for an alpha strike. It just means that you set into motion. You're a boulder down a hill. You set that boulder down a hill towards your strategy to win the game, and you commit to it because you need to get it in motion and grind people out. Like, it is basically you are marching this trap forward and closing this trap around people. This is like, so you're almost always either stuck in or like because strategically speaking you should be. Now, I'm not making a case for like, hey, they should be able to heal in combat. I'm just saying that little bit of a non-bow here. Also, the last thing I wanted for my army that has about 4 sources of regen easily in every list is more regen.
Yeah, and we should also state, I didn't mention it before, and I was highly remiss not to do so, is that the unit that uses this, not only do they have to not be in combat, but they can't have moved. And yeah, as you just pointed out, this is a melee army that isn't super fast.
You got to get in motion right away with your plan.
Get stuck in.
So they have to get in, right?
So
yep. You got to get
the number of units you have that are just going to stand around is not many. Like, what this is going to be is, in my mind, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, Meph, Reknit is for putting wounds back on various caster or support heroes who tend to be outside of the fight, behind the line, who turn 1 or 2 moved into position and probably will just stand still for much of the rest of the game as they're around.
Yeah. The little plink damage that hits your Bone Shaper, he's going to regen himself because he's like babysitting a unit of like 20 more tech guard. Maybe a Gothazar Harvester if you're bringing it. By the way, spoiler, you're not. We've run the math. It's just you kind of aren't doing it. And then maybe your catapult, but you're not bringing that either because everyone's save stacking and no rend on that thing, even if it's 5 damage, kills the crab so bad in 3.0.
Sure.
So like contextualization for this is like it's just your Bone Shaper's healing and maybe Catacross an extra time.
Sure.
Because you don't want Catacross in combat, which actually parlays into unflinching coordination. We have one combat hero that actually wants to fight you, and that's a Liege Cavalos. Like, there's not an abundance of like turn him into like a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, or like even there's not an abundance of like turn your Liege Cavalos 180 point hero into like the slap shit commander. Like he does decent damage for 180 point hero, which is nice.
The only 2 that are ever going to be fighting is arguably the Liege Cavalos
and Catacross. Yeah, they're the only 2 who are ever really going to be fighting. So now I'm going to play my Bone Shaper or my Mortison worse to be able to trigger this, and then also shut off all my RDP combat on the rest of the unit. So no bludgeon, no bonus attack, no like all my stuff that gives my unit gas, I can't do to them either.
Right.
Like, so it's by the way, we like it. We're looking at them, we're going like, there's some good tricks here. Note there's no range on the unit I activate. Like, only
you can chain activate across the board.
Yeah, my Liege Cavalos can like just charge some rando like backline 5 derpy guys that are like skinks or something, and then over there my 20 pack of Mortek Guard are activating now. Like that is something I wasn't supposed to tell everyone because it's one of the only tricks we have right now as Ossiarch Bone Reapers is that nobody sees coming. So now you all see it coming. You're welcome.
But you're right. There's a huge
have...
cost to it at the same time because it is a command, a combat phase thing, and oftentimes there are other RDP-based abilities you're trying to use in the combat phase, which the unit that receives the command to fight instantly, suddenly those are shut off. Right?
Yeah,
they can't do it if they got a start of the combat phase ability.
Yeah, so my Liege Cavalos, keep in mind, now can't drive the wedge, like his main chargey mortal woundy ability, in an army that has actually very low mortal wound output.
Right.
There's not a lot of mortal wounds in this army. Nerfing Nagash was one of the biggest nerfs to our mortal wounds output, which is kind of why he was sort of propping up the army, because he gave a lot of mortal wounds to the army. So you're having this sort of death by 1,000 cuts to what's going on with Ossiarch Bone Reapers right now in 2.0 that I think people need to, you look at individual things and you go, hey, that's pretty cool. But when you put it all together, the puzzle pieces don't line up.
I think Swaggy Shadow's correct. I thought about that before the show, I want to take that back. I think because it's counting as a command ability, it would use the standard rules of 12-18, but I don't know.
Maybe 12-18, but we already don't use those rules, or we weren't using those rules. We have our own.
The FAQ. It's probably correct.
Probably correct.
Yeah, that's a good point. I thought about that before the show when I was rereading everything, but then I was like, but maybe because it's RDP, it still says it's command ability, so I'm guessing it still uses the normal rules.
Oh yeah, so it still has the basic core rules. Yeah, the numbers.
Yep.
Oh man, you're right. The one thing that I thought was kind of cool about this is not cool. Oops. So I guess it's worse. It's worse in two ways. Any opportunity for something to be interesting in this army is just told it can't be.
Yeah.
And there's just this Three Stooges try to get through a doorway of trying to use our RDP, so your ending turns on 6 RDP left.
Right, because you just don't have enough units to actually receive the command since that's still capped. All right. Let's talk about what I think is actually the bright spot of this update, which is these heroic actions, or at least one of them. So, we'll get there. Okay. So, they get new heroic actions, which is a thing I'm sure we're going to see a lot of as if Battle Tome trends and stuff continues. We've seen them offer alternative heroic actions, alternative monstrous actions, things like that. They love this new mechanic, so they love to stuff new versions in. So at the start of your hero phase, you can carry this heroic action. You can carry out this heroic action with a friendly Ossiarch Bone Reapers hero instead of any other heroic action you can carry out with that hero. Relentless Leadership. Pick one friendly Ossiarch Bone Reapers hero. Until the end of this turn, you can use an Ossiarch command ability to issue a command with that hero without a relentless discipline point being spent. Whatever. Use a command ability for free. That's what it's doing.
Hard pass.
Yeah, this is not the good one to me.
So we just got done saying you can't use all of your command abilities. Or your command point, your RDP.
Yeah, no, you can't use all of them.
And this is saying you get one for free.
Correct. We should also point out that the thing that I didn't mention it earlier, but I love this comical note of you cannot use the expert, slayers, strategists, or swift battalions. Well, first of all, no one used the battalions that were expert, slayers, or swift. People use strategist if they took warlord, obviously. But instead, for each battalion in your army that has any of these rules, once per battle at the start of any battle round, you can receive one relentless discipline point. Well, la-di-da. So... Just
we're taking
more of this onto the pile. 12, a dozen's not enough. I need 15, more than I could actually mathematically use ever in any circumstance.
You don't have enough units. You don't have enough units on the table. You have 6 units on the table, and you can't spam command points.
I don't have enough, Meph, until I multiply, until I'm getting an amount equal each turn, equal to my number of units times the number of phases.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. No, it's so frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
You're using for more context, we're using on average 2 battalions.
Sure.
We're trying to get our drops low. We're a combat army. And our Achilles heel is shooting. What's really good in the meta right now? Oh, all right.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I understand.
Moving on.
All right.
Yeah.
So yes, this first heroic action I would call, but the next heroic action, I is strong. Like it's strong.
This one's good. I love this one. More of this.
At
please.
the start of your hero phase, you can carry out this heroic action with a friendly Mortison instead of any other heroic action you can carry out with that Mortison. Necromantic Mastery, pick one friendly Mortison. If the first spell that Mortison attempts to cast in this turn is successfully cast, that spell cannot be unbound. Okay.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
That's a good ability. That's a good heroic action. It's very strong. Okay. Here's my immediate question. So this is like your Bone Shaper, your Soul Mason, and your Soul Reaper? Am I right? Is that all the Mortisons?
I believe so.
All the ones without bonuses to cast. Yeah.
Sure, but whatever. Okay, fine.
Our casting values are low. This is actually like really great because we're looking at like CV5 casts and stuff. So we don't have like a +1 or +2 to cast really in the army anywhere. But you're casting on 5s. So it's actually really good. This kind of fixes one of the problems with our army. So maybe y'all can clarify for me. Casting an endless spell is still casting a spell because the spell is to cast the endless spell and then the model of the endless spell shows up. Correct? That's how it still works?
Yeah, the first spell.
So you can throw out your Bone Tithe Shrieker.
Sure.
And you can't stop me.
Yeah,
Great.
I mean, I think if you were still having Nagash, it'd be exciting because you could throw out the portal for the hand without it getting unbound by some other dude would throw it out and then just dip.
No, the Bone Shaper would cast the portal for Nagash.
Okay.
He'd be his portal monkey, right? So that way.
Yes.
But again, you're not using Nagash in there anymore, so who cares?
I am now to do just this one thing.
Sure. But this actually sets up a weird incentive structure. Okay? Here's the weird incentive structure off of this ability. Tom, did you... you probably spotted this. All right.
To cast your better spells first?
Not necessarily. I mean, probably, but maybe not. What you actually want to cast with this is the lowest possible casting value you can that has value to you. Right? Because if you've got a spell that's casting value 3.
Right.
Perfect world. All right? They don't, but imagine you did. If you roll that 3...
They're not Night Haunt.
Sure. In most armies, because there are armies that have casting value 3s around, right? But in most armies, if you have a casting value 3 and you roll the 3, somebody's just going to be like, I'll unbind that, and they basically automatically do it. Right? But in this case, if you have something that's casting value 3 and you roll the 3, that's it. It works. They get no bite at the apple. Okay? So, by that rationale, what spell is the most... What's your best spell to cast with this in your mind? I have my pick. What is yours, Meth?
Well, we're usually throwing out our Nadirite, Empower Nadirite Blades on this.
Okay.
Which
is a casting value of 5.
That's that CV5, and we're empowering our Nadirite Blades. Or we're trying something cheeky with an endless spell. But
okay. All right. Tom, what's your pick? You looking through the spell lore?
For me, my gut would be, I would even, more important than that to me is Reinforced Battle Shields.
Okay. I will tell you why I think you're both wrong. It's Mystic Shield, guys. It's just Mystic Shield.
Yeah, you're right. And it's sad.
That's it. That's all this ability is. This ability is once per round in your turns, you can probably cast Mystic Shield for sure. That's all this is. Because Mystic Shield casts on a 5. It's your most important and powerful effect you're going to get.
Yeah, you want that 3 up on your Mortek guard.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's so. It's sad because it's not our.
I mean,
it's not like leaning into our identity of what we are, which is for me the greatest crime of stuff. Is you're not. Go ahead, Tom. Sorry.
It just depends on what you're facing. Because if I'm facing down, if I'm facing down 30 Sentinels on the other side of the board, I want the 5 up after save.
Sure.
Sure.
That's fine. I'm not saying there's not situations where having the aftersave. You're right. If somebody's dialing you and spitting hot fire of mortal wounds, okay, and that's basically the only way they do damage.
Sure.
Sentinels being prime example here, but there are others. Sure.
Yeah, but the Sentinels has already just shot your Mortison, like just in the dome, and he's dead.
But that guy's already dead, yeah. So I don't know who's casting this spell. That dude died 2 rounds ago, Tom.
Yeah, or he's in some useless deployment to protect himself. When you got
outdropped, and they just were like... But, I take your point.
Yeah, like, the, my Nadirite Blades, it's because I'm activating them when my Mortison charges with them, right? Right, guys? No,
yeah, it's Mystic Shield.
Yeah.
In 90% of the cases, it's Mystic Shield. That's it. That's it. That's what this does. This ability might as well just read once per battle round. You may cast Mystic Shield, and it may not be unbound. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Feels very antithetical when you say it that way. Like very just anticlimactic.
Sure. I understand.
I hear that. I'm simply acknowledging that there are a lot of other they have a nice spell lore, and there are a lot of things that you want to get through. Spell lore.
They have a
very low on mortal wounds, by the way. We don't do a lot of mortal wounds.
They have a perfectly interesting spell lore.
Good one.
Yep.
I like it.
And it's still Mystic Shield, Tom. And you know this, and I know this, because what is the first spell you cast every round in every game you play? Don't be a liar, it's Mystic Shield, okay? It just is. I mean, not actually first, because sometimes you're trying to draw unbinds and blah, blah, blah.
You're saying the number one priority. I understand what you're saying.
Number one priority on resolving is Mystic Shield.
Right.
Yes, correct. Yep. And this resolves.
See, I go Nadirite Blade still, because 1, I want to play to my army's identity, and 2, a good offense is a good defense, Vince.
It's perfectly fair. It's perfect. The best defense is a good offense. Sure. Let's. I'm gonna go ahead and I want to get the statistics on this real quick. I'm gonna bring this up. Give me just a moment. Oops. Hold on.
Yeah.
And
checkmate. CW Kreiner says I don't cast Mystic Shield. I play Night Hunt.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah. Well, you're not using this ability either. Okay. So with this ability, you have a, let's see, 13.8, 2.5 is 15.3. So you have an 84.7% chance of successfully getting Mystic Shield off.
I like it.
Pretty good.
I like it.
I like reliability.
Yeah.
Pretty reliable as things go. Okay. Next. But hey, it's a good ability.
I do like it. It's like if this was one other ability in a list of like other good abilities, I'd feel very positive about this instead of something that does literally nothing.
Right.
And like if it was like 1 or 2, and I'm like, oh, the other thing was like I get to ignore, I don't know, being able to double tap command buffs on a unit with a heroic thing. I'm like, no, you get to like charge up like a Kamehameha this round. Like you can can activate and have your bludgeon, or you can activate and have your shield tilt. Like,
right. How was that not the other heroic action? Was like the hero can pick a unit and then they can double stack an RDP during a phase once per the round or something like that. How is that not what it actually was?
Because nobody who played Ossiarch Bone Reapers ever touched any of these rules.
I don't know. I mean, I know there are some OBR fans amongst the playtesters, so it's surprising. But
it's a great army. It should be a high priority army for Games Workshop going forward. It is the only I love vampires. I'm a vampire guy. My inner goth phase has never went away.
True.
Okay, but I can play vampires in anything.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's got their version of vampire. You know, I happen to love Games Workshop's Turbo Castlevania vampires. Don't get me wrong, big fan. I bought a bunch of them. But Ossiarch Bone Reapers, I can only play in a Games Workshop product. They should be a priority. They sold like hotcakes. We look at our player representation in 2.0 when that book came out. 10% of the field was Ossiarch Bone Reapers.
Yeah, it was very large. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shockingly large. There's a lot of people with OBR armies sitting on a shelf right now.
Right. This army should be a priority. It's the most AOS death thing that has ever existed for Games Workshop. Sorry. All right.
Nope,
I got
I'm
that.
with you.
Little rant cast showing up in your show. I'm sorry about that.
All good. Let's talk about this waste of print that they keep putting in these books. Grand strategies and battle tactics. Okay, cool. By the way, I'll say it again. Hit that like button, subscribe, do the fun things while we talk about a not fun thing that's happened. Their grand strategy is just bad. I don't even really feel the need to go into it, but you have to have a unit of Mortec Guard or Death Riders have the same number of models it had at the start of the game.
Yeah.
There are just better picks. It's a bad grand strategy. Stop printing
these. Feels so risky.
It absolutely is. Just stop printing these. It's obvious that there's a limited amount of design space for these where they're compelling. Stop. Please stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then our battle tactics are worse versions of existing ones.
So, yes.
Go on.
But I actually think that, okay, so if we're going to have to deal with these battle tactics existing, I will say I actually don't hate all of these battle tactics. All right?
Fair.
I think some of these are interesting.
Well, because you run out of battle tactics, right? You can only pick
exactly.
one yeah. So
right.
I would like to double up on the one that's easy to get, and then my easy to get but worse version of it, right? Yeah. All right. Continue. Yeah.
And I agree with you, CW, on that. Yes, you would never pick that grand strategy. You would just take hold the line, obviously. Obviously. Okay. So here's your battle tactics. Trample the Defiant. Pick one friendly Cavalos Death Riders unit that is more than 3 inches away from all enemy units. You complete this battle tactic if that unit, sorry, my mouse is in the way, makes a charge move this turn and is within 3 inches of any unit at the end of the turn. Okay, so they have to either charge one thing and not kill it, or just charge into two things and kill the one thing, but then still be within 3 inches of another. This is this is predicated on you having a Death Riders unit in your army, which a lot of people don't necessarily play Death Riders, but I would argue that some people do, and this is a free 2 points.
It's a freebie, yeah.
Because you're going to move a unit, you're going to know that your Death Riders can move to within 3, charge, land this, and then, charge to within 2 people or not kill the unit they're fighting. You can easily math that out to know that will be successful. Okay? Mm. And so it's just a free 2 points. On your turn, this is effectively an autocomplete. There's one small case. Okay? And that is, well, I guess 2 small cases. First case is someone redeploys away from you and you blow the charge. Okay. So make sure you move to within 3 inches of multiple units so they can't redeploy away from you, if possible. And the second problem is if you happen to roll snaky snakes on your charge, because you don't have access to reroll the charge command ability. And you didn't take the reroll charge triumph, which is what you should take in this army if you're taking a triumph. Mm-hmm. That's the only way you fail this. This is a pretty close to autocomplete battle tactic.
It kind of non-bows a little bit with your mortal woundy charge ability, which is you're I want to wipe you out, but I don't want to quite wipe you out. But the practicality of a 5 block of Cavalos Death Riders is they're a tar pit. They're a mobile tar pit. Yep. They do good enough damage but their survivability is constantly surprising my opponents. Like, the number of times I have like two, like I get charged and like have two models left, and it's like 2 turns later they're just like, why can't I kill these ponies? And I'm like, murder ponies. They're better than regular ponies. Yeah. They have a they
do
can't
the Death
fail.
Riders have +1 to charge on their banner?
Yeah, every OBR battle line has a +1 to charge. They can't fail.
I forgot that they had that. So okay, never mind. Cool. You don't have to worry about the snakes then. So you're good. So it is quite close to autocomplete then. All right, very good. I'm sorry, everybody. I didn't realize that was on their banner.
Good,
even better.
Stuff.
Even better.
Yeah, more
so yes,
tech,
then your only case is
guarding,
if you move up, get redeployed away from big roll, then you fail the charge. So just watch out for that. That's your only trick that you'll walk into. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. I apologize. I forgot that was their banner ability. Good stuff. The next one, Unfeeling Recursion. You complete this battle tactic if 2 or more friendly Ossiarch Bone Reaper units had slain models returned to them with the Reknit Constructs Ossiarch command ability in this turn. Okay. So I'm very torn on this one. Because on one hand, if you were to ever choose it, like, here's what I'll say about it. If you're in a position where you choose it, you're going to autocomplete it. Right? Because you're going to have 2 units of Mortek Guard that are at less than full. You're going to go Reknit. They don't move. Reknit. Complete.
You're stuck in. Yeah,
it's automatic. Right? You're going to have the 2 RDP. You're going to, like, you understand what I'm saying? Like, if you choose this, then you complete this, assuming you're not insane.
Yeah.
Right? This is like the run 3 people battle tactic, right? If you're choosing it, you're completing it, unless you just are literally out of your mind. Okay? Or forget. All right? So it's an autocomplete. The problem with it, to me, is the situation where you have availability to choose it, because you basically would need 2 units of Mortek, for the most part, out of combat, who lost units and don't want to move. Or sorry, who lost models and don't want to move.
Catacross auto completes this. Like, Catacross is regenning, X units on the field just for freeze. You have a Bone Shaper, and then you rally one, or not rally.
But you have to use Reknit Constructs. That's specific.
Specifically says Reknit Constructs.
Yes, you can't use like the other restoration things.
Sorry, it wasn't bolded. I missed it. I thought I just had to regen units. No, nope. I hate it.
Yeah, so that's the problem, right? That's the challenge.
I hate it because I hate Reknit Constructs.
Because you can't move. Like, it is an auto. It's 2 RDP to 2 VP if you turn it on. Like, right? If you're in a position where you can use it. The challenge to it is you have to have 2 basically Mortek units out of combat who don't want to move that turn. So it's situational, right? That's the trick.
Yeah, not so auto. Not we already expressed the problem with Reknit Constructs. Konuas.
Yes.
Like, the problem is like using Reknit Constructs is such a, and getting it on 2 units in my army. I have 5 units in my army. Like, I have 2 blocks of Mortek and a thing of Gavalos. That's my battle line. Like, sure. That's what can use it.
It's auto with a flowchart gate. Okay? Yeah. Because you have to first, like, before you do it, you have to answer this question that is, do I have 2 Mortek units with missing models out of combat that don't need to move? If yes, earn 2 victory points. Right? Done.
Yep.
If no, this is useless. Right? That's it. That's the flowchart. Right?
See, this doesn't feel
It's 100% chance or 0% chance. That's it. There's no in between with this one.
It doesn't feel tactical. It feels finicky and meaningless. It's the opposite of tactical for the tactical army. Go on.
No, it's fine. And then the last one is the tithe demands, which I actually like having in the clip. My actual fear with these is that they might be too good and push, this is like whatever, but that they might push OBR to easily having 5 autocompletes between the whole clip combined with the basic ones. Okay? Because this one is pick one enemy hero or monster on the battlefield. You complete this battle tactic if that unit is destroyed this turn. If that enemy hero or monster was destroyed by an attack made by a friendly Gothazar Harvester, you score 1 additional victory point. Okay. You're not going to do that last part of the text.
Yeah.
But this is, like, that's a pretty wide group of things that you're able to kill. And, like, it comes up that it's the start of your turn, and there is a very injured hero or monster, somebody on 1, 2, 3 wounds or something like that, pretty often amongst any hero or monster on the battlefield. And so that's pretty low risk as things go. Like, this is more generous than, say, Bring It Down. Okay? Now, Bring It Down has the monster kicker. If you bring it down with your monster. This has a Gothazar Harvester kicker. A much worse kicker, to be fair. But it's a much more broad number of situations. Like, between this and Bring It Down, if you're fighting, like, an enemy Monster Mash army, this can just be 2 easy slam dunk VPs for you if you get them down wounded and you're going to grind them out this turn.
Yeah, you had to have taken a Gothazar Harvester, though, which you didn't, because they basically are just 1 free victory point for most of the meta right now.
Yeah. I'm assuming that last part of the text about the Gothazar Harvester just doesn't exist. This is my 2VP
it was a joke. It was a joke slipped in by the editor.
Yeah. Right, yeah, just like, hey, this will be funny. Put that in there. This is like the serving size on Fig Newtons is 2 Newtons. Like, no, that's a joke. That's not real. It's not real.
Right. I don't want to harsh on Gothazar Harvesters, but I had so much hope for them coming into 3.0. I'm like, I'm going to use monster actions on my 1 monster in my entire army. My 1 monster in my entire army of bone constructs.
Yeah. Hades asked, what's wrong with the Harvester? He's a 10 wound thing, which is the worst place to be. And he gets shot and killed. That's it. Because it's a shooting heavy meta and he cannot be protected in any way. He just dies.
Yeah. And furthermore, you don't, as a pseudo-elite army, you don't have the screens for him either, so any combat army with good combat abilities to get into combat, spoiler, they all have good combat abilities to get into combat, because they're either outflanking in some manner, have absurd charges, a teleport plus an absurd charge. You don't have enough coverage to protect the Gothazar Harvester.
Right.
Like, a 30 block of Mortek Guard with a Gothazar Harvester, like, in the middle, kinda, you can roughly protect, but if you're putting that many points in some place, I guess congratulations, like, the rest of your army's just gone. Like, it's
not a hero, it's just at a very bad wounds level, where it's easily shot off. That's the issue. It's a weak, wounded monster. Like, it's not a 14 or 18 or 20 wound monster. It's 10. Mm-hmm. And he just dies and gives your opponents... Because your opponents are going to hunt him because he's a free victory point with their shooting. Like, and they're going... And it's going to get in the way of their plans by regenning the other unit they want to kill. They know the Mortek aren't getting to them this turn. So why not point the long strikes at the Harvester, blow him off the table, get a bonus VP, right? Solve a problem, gain a free point, and then you can focus on the other things later.
Yeah,
that's the trick.
It teaches. It's actually like a really good teaching point, because it even has like a big beacon on its back, how it's built and stuff. Sure. It literally teaches your opponents how to play the game of Age of Sigmar correctly, because it telegraphs that it should freaking die immediately.
Like shoot this guy.
Here.
It's like Hunter's Mark in World of Warcraft.
He's got the WoW Hunter's Mark over him. Yeah.
Like, actually, like, when you play the game, you'll see that, like, Games Workshop pioneered some VR tech along with their 3D printing tech.
Yeah, if you use the augmented reality glasses,
if you put the augmented reality goggles, it's on it every time.
Yeah. Exactly, because he's just a free point. All right, cool. All right, let's keep moving. Okay. Current state of affairs. So this is kind of a wrap up. Let's summary this current state of affairs here. This should be fairly quick. So after these 2 changes, the loss of Nagash as the go-to hurts the army competitively. Not necessarily a pure negative, as he was likely a crutch, and I don't ever like crutches. Like, it was just like the old statement on Petrifex or Sentinels or anything like that. Like, the army should be good in of itself, not because it had access to one too efficient unit or model or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it's still true that competitively they're in a worse place. The new abilities help them play 3.0 a little better, but ultimately they still feel like a 2.0 army in a 3.0 world. Their lack of ability to interact with some of the core mechanics of 3.0 still holds them back, especially in the current meta. Their only shooting unit performs much worse in 3.0, which is a shooting meta. It reduces their ability to remove well-protected challenges, things that they need to kill because they need to win in the melee grind, and oftentimes their opponents have better buffs, better utility on pieces that they can't remove.
Everyone
their opponents can remove their pieces.
Yep.
They still have multiple scrolls that just don't have a use in the current world. I'm looking at you, Immortus Guard. So, fix that. And my final note really is that the army can still be great fun to play. As you said, Meph, it is a very fair army, right? Like, it plays a fair, straight game of
just
Warhammer.
Fists. It's always been this way.
Yes. And, like, if you like this kind of a style, it can be rewarding and fun to play and to issue these things. You will have the sort of... You are still a pretty grindy, tough army and all those elements. That is all true. But it's a hard 5-0. Okay? And, you don't pick this... Hello, dear. You don't pick this army because you're trying to, like, be the competitive powerhouse.
Right. The cards have to, like, fall right.
I don't think you can 5-0 it in the current meta.
I mean, you can if you get the right. You get
if
the right.
You're exactly like Bill Sousa or
sure.
or Owen, sure, but like Owen Wilson, but you can't. It's such a the meta exists exactly to already beat you. Like, our shield tilt doesn't work against range to begin with. Like,
right.
All of the things that make our army resilient don't work outside of the combat phase.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Even the new buffs they added explicitly state combat phase. Like, everything going on, we are a combat phase army that doesn't have the tricks of other combat phase armies.
Right.
We're not doing any of that stuff. We get plus 3 inches to our 4-inch War Scroll move. Cool.
I mean, I'd love that on Fire Slayers. But
sure, but you have a teleport, so stop adding me, bro. Your axes are going to do more across your whole army than 2 catapults in my entire army.
Hit like for dogs. Go ahead. That's all.
Yeah, like and subscribe for dogs.
There you go.
I'm not saying that I don't want to get into a who's worse off battle right now because I don't think that helps anybody. I'm not interested in how bad it can get. It is bad for this army in ways. I do think it firmly 3-2s, by the way.
Yeah.
It's held aloft by the strength of how absolute quality their core troops are. Mortek Guard and Liege and Cavalos Death Riders are absolute quality. 10 out of 10.
No disagree.
The times that people are surprised when they run into just a 20 block of Mortek. Fantastic. I love the look on people's faces. Same thing with Cavalos Death Riders. It's just, this has always been a game of sort of augmenting the game state. And we've never augmented the board, and we can't augment the game state in other meaningful ways anymore.
Right.
We can buff our troops kinda, but it always comes at the cost of something else, and we have nothing to do with our own core mechanic, which is relentless discipline points. We don't have any other allegiance abilities. Immune to battle shock. Fine, whatever. I feel like how you felt about depravity a while ago.
Yeah, sure.
We're if everyone's complaining about my immunity to battle shock, I will gladly give you that if you give me real other abilities.
Right, sure. Yeah, I want to get rid of this thing. It's fine. It's not doing what you think it's doing. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's not really doing what you think it's doing for my army. We're not winning in the battle shock phase, guys.
Sure. So, way back in the day when I started playing Warhammer back in 4th, 5th edition, they released the Dogs of War. And there was a little group of halflings called Lumpen Kroops, little archers. And they had a special rule that was immune to Waywatcher traps, because Waywatchers used to be able to trap woods. You write it down secret. And then if they went in the woods, the little Lumpen Kroops halflings didn't set off the traps. That was such a specific... And the joke we always made was, how much am I paying for that? right? Like, what part of this per model point cost is paying for that ability? Because if it's greater than 0, I don't want it. I don't want it.
Yeah.
That is, it's unnecessary. This is the same way. Like, I'll give away these abilities if you give me something good.
Even Relentless Discipline and stuff, like, they've baked in, like, we can't use battalion abilities. We can't ally anything. We can't use generic command abilities. To give us our basic stuff, they made us pay a cost. And plus, what are we paying for points for it?
Right.
Like, I don't want to doom and gloom this army, because again, I love it's actually my favorite army, even though I'm on this Soulblight Gravelords thing. Like I said, I can play vampires anywhere. This is it. This is the Warhammer army. But it's just it's just not playing 2.0, you know. And how well it performed, or it's just not playing 3.0, and how well it performed in 2.0 was kind of like a little bit of a false prophecy, you know. Mm-hmm. Even if you had just waited 6 months for people to have judgments on the army, they would have been able to mitigate their hatred of the army.
Yep.
From the Petrifex Elite days. Go on.
All right. No, it's good. And yes, Sam. Oh, I know. All right. Let's go to the future. Anyways, here's Ponderball. So, this is my awesome Photoshop skills at play here, by the way. What you think about this? This super sweet Photoshop to end it all out, right?
Oh, so good.
Shocking.
So
high quality right here. All right, Meph, I want you to lead us in this discussion.
So,
what should the
who
future
is
of
the
this army
halfling
look
in the
like?
back? You messed up the Photoshop beds because you should have replaced the head of the halfling in the back.
Sure. Well, I should have made Grima Wormtongue into like Arcan. Yeah.
You needed to scale Nagash's head as my only criticism. Or if I want to go full meme lord, it's orb is out, cube is in. Go watch like the Necron stuff that's like showing up. Yeah.
There are versions of this meme with the pondering the cube instead of the orb. Yes.
Nice.
Maybe that should be the Bone Daddy himself. Maybe that should be
Catacross is like
Catacross back there looking at Nagash.
Sure.
Yeah, there you go. I have so many thoughts on the future of this army because, like I said, like I don't want to like doom and gloom people who like if you're looking at the Ossiarch Bone Reapers models and you're like, oh, like I want to start playing Warhammer. Like I want to take you aside and be like, okay, look, you're not playing 3.0 right now, but like if you absolutely love the Bone Zone, embrace the Bone Zone. For the Bone Zone will provide. But like, you know, like there's so many things that like feel silly to me that people were complaining about in the past, and I kind of want them to lean into harder for the future. Okay. Does that make sense? Like, so my first thing is the Bone Tithe Nexus, because that was the first thing everyone complained about. And your criticism of the Bone Tithe Nexus, we're just diametrically opposed on this, Vince. I think all faction terrain should be sized up 25% larger to compete with the Bone Tithe Nexus. Bigger terrain, better, in my opinion. Huge equals great. But I want, like, I hear all this stuff about the Bone Tithe. The whole ad campaign was the tithe. I don't see the tithe mechanically on the table.
Mm-hmm. Not at all. No, I think, like, you're right. You're right. Like, they should be getting stronger as enemy models die.
Right. And we, as I pointed out earlier, like, we have a resource. And virtually every army out there has 2 resources. We could easily be a 2-resource army. And I would love it to be a 2-resource army that interacts with the other army in, like, a meaningful way. Like, you could go to my Bone Tithe Nexus and literally pay the tithe and shut off, like, an ability or something. Like, I don't...
Or how about this? As models die in the enemy army, you're racking up a total.
Yeah, my tithe.
There's tiers that you're reducing their morale by because bodies are being added to the altar, right? And so there's just an enemy blanket wide, and so it ends up being an inverse of their lack of needing battle shock. Because what you end up doing is like for every, I don't know, let's say 10 bodies, they have an army-wide -1 morale for the rest of the game.
I think of something like you know, one of the things people like honed in on. I don't believe in taking things away as a mechanic so much as giving stuff. Like in terms of like general design philosophies, I would rather give people things for doing things than like take away things. There are exceptions, but I do think like if the one thing people complain about like big time is like our battle shock immune, And like I said, I'll give away my Battle Shock immune if you gave me like real good rules. But just a basic concept of the Bone Tithe Nexus is you can like sacrifice stuff, you can pay the tithe, and then you can get shock immune for a unit. I am a benevolent god.
Sure. You know, if their point is to collect the bone tithe, like once they get their tithe, they leave.
We peace out. Yeah, we're done.
Right.
If we've attacked you, you already are insufficient. However, like,
yeah, sure, you haven't paid enough of the tithe. That's why we've brought it to combat.
And we've written the contract in such a way that we actually want to obliterate you because we're like evil taxmen. Like that's the whole conceit of the army.
But if they collect the tithe, theoretically they win, right? That's their victory condition for them is they get enough bones.
Yeah? We win because we got the bones we needed. Yeah.
So what if just as they killed enemy units in some way, they were able to score victory points for having the tithe paid? Like, put a cap on it. Like killing monsters. Like, right now, we all have this, by the way. This is just a general rule.
Isn't this just a grand strategy, though?
Yeah, why don't we have a grand strategy to collect the tithe, for crying out loud?
Yeah, like, if you kill units... I mean, you could do this as a grand strategy. You could do this as a special rule where they have, like, a sub-objective that earns some VP capped 1 per battle round or 1 per turn or something, just like killing monsters. Where it's they kill a unit, they collect the tithe, and the tithe is a VP, right? And that could actually be an extremely competitive mechanic because it's allowing them to sort of skip, hop, and turn scenarios to their favor.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? And it's making you want to, like, if you feed them anything as chaff, it actually works against you because
it helps with the crux of our army, too. Keep going.
Tithe.
I love this. It helps with the crux of our army because the crux of our army is forced engagement. Like, some of the best ways to beat my army is to just run away from me the whole time.
Yeah.
And and so it's like, there's this, like, sort of like, if you cede too much of the board, running away from me, you cede the board. So you gotta feed me chaff. Like, I like that sort of the positive enforcement
and hence by
of
doing
strategy.
that, they're just paying the tithe.
Yep,
and earning
they're paying
you
the
bonus
tithe.
VPs. I mean, again, you can cap it in some reasonable way, where they can't just like suddenly explode and gain 50,000 command points or whatever. Of course, or sorry, VP, of course. But yeah, like, I don't know, that would be a way to integrate the tithe that I think would be really cool, and it would have, like, they're on the back foot playing with normal rules. Okay. Or they don't get all access to all the rules, but they get access to this one super special rule that very much drives them to victory and is narratively appropriate. Just a thought.
Man, look at that harmony there between, like, narrative meeting mechanics. Which is like the sweet.
That's what you want.
Yeah.
You want everything to feel like it has a place, like it's narratively driven, right? That's that magical verisimilitude. Okay. I mean, let me ask the hard question here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does this army need RDP?
No.
I want to take everyone into the nuance zone. I see the only future for this army is one of two paths.
Okay.
There's probably some, like, variants on these paths. But broadly speaking, you have a fork. They either keep RDP or they get regular command ability stuff. Okay?
Sure.
Now, the way I have it outlined here in my flippin' notes that take up a whole page, so I'm going to try to do this quick. For me, RDP is the soul of the army.
Okay.
This is our unique snowflake mechanic that makes it interesting. This was the thing that told me that this is the tactically advanced army. We make more decisions than you, and we play the game, and yada, yada, yada. And by the way, all that stuff was as advertised an edition ago. Now everyone's making it has all the same decision points that we have, and more. That's the great fall down for me. Is like, this is supposed to be the army that was supposed to reward my decision and tactical play and spending my resources more like, strategically better. That was why I loved it as advertised. That's what I got into. That's what I bought into. So for me, RDP is kind of the soul of the army. And we have this massive surplus of RDP. The easy solution is to give me something to spend it on.
Sure.
Like, let me spirit bomb. Let me hoard all this RDP and just have some outlet mechanic where I'm able to like just hit the turbo button and on a jump turn, on a pivotal decision, or like a mega combat, be like, this combat decides the game, or I'm waiting around for the combat that's going to decide the game. Go, now I spend all the RDP.
Mm-hmm.
Let me have some avenue to like spend it all, or something along those lines. So that's like path one, as I see it. Now I think that's the more favorable path. Is think like a Timmy here. Like this is where
you can windmill slam a big turn. I got it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the think like the Timmy, like let me spam dump or spirit bomb. The other way is RDP becomes Aether Quartz or Urgold or whatever, and it's just a
secondary expendable resource. You can use it once per game or some amount of time per game or whatever.
Right.
And it just does a special thing. Okay.
Does a special thing, and then I have command abilities.
Okay. What if we said that the discipline, right? Because RDP, we have understood it as a resource, because that's how it was first manifested. But RDP stands for Relentless Discipline points.
Yeah. Yep.
So what if you just had Relentless Discipline, and it was simply trotted out like this? Whenever you use a command ability, units can issue 2 command abilities per phase. Relentless Discipline, units can receive 2 command abilities per phase.
So like we're still playing with like command abilities and like the same realm everyone else is, but we're doing 2 tactics, so we're twice as tactical as you.
Or whenever you use a command ability, you can select 2 units to receive that command instead of 1.
Yeah, instead of activating 2 units like LRL are doing right now, we're commanding 2 units. That passes the smell test for me.
Does that feel like what it was, but then brings them back into line with the game that everybody else is playing?
Yeah,
so that they're
think about
screwed by Total Eclipse. No, sorry.
Sure. When I think about the future of this army,
yeah,
I think that the first and most important discussion or decision that they have to make is RDP worth it? And what I mean by that is it's a lot of faffing about in the rules.
It's a mental load, right?
Okay. Like, we wrote a lot of text through the original book and the FAQs and then the update to 3.0 and this new Tome Celestial. We've spilled a lot of ink over something that is just effectively command points but not. Right?
Yes.
To have a subsystem that is more or less just completely adjacent, but basically the same as regular command points. So something like that has to justify its existence. Right?
That's why I say lean into the Timmy.
Yeah, and so
if you're going to keep it around, make it interesting.
In my mind, either you say, yes, as you said, it is the soul of the army, in which case then you have to give them ways to actually use this effectively, tactically, probably reactively, right? In some occasions. What I mean by that is redeploy as a reactive command ability, right?
Yeah.
Your opponent does X, you do Y. Okay.
Yeah, we get the activation wars of command abilities. Let's go!
I mean, like this stuff exists. There's very little actual reactive sort of RDPing in this army, which is surprising.
All out defense is reactive.
All out defense is reactive. Oh, yeah, sure, exactly. So either it needs to be able to be used on more things, which could mean a variety of different ways to interpret that. That could mean more written command abilities, though there's probably some upper limit to that where it's just going to become convoluted. Like already we've got probably a good number, but maybe not. Maybe we can have more.
They write entire allegiance abilities for whole cloth armies and war scroll abilities on things, and all of our stuff is baked into this one stuff. They can write cool and interesting stuff for this army exclusively.
Yeah, sure. I have no doubt.
But the mental load
or
of playing
we allow it to
this army.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
But there's a cost to that, right? Because the mental load of playing against this army is such that now when somebody rolls up to play against OBR, it's all the rules that everybody else is playing by are different. And what I mean by that is like whenever somebody says I use all-out defense on this unit in reaction or whatever, everybody knows that because everybody's using that. And
That's
before,
go ahead.
Before that wasn't as much of a big deal as it is now, where everything's been centralized, where command abilities have been ripped off of all of the war scrolls, or almost everything but your generals. Like you're almost only your biggest name characters. And so I just wonder if we double down, right?
I want
Is
to
that and that's fine.
Double down
if you
on
want to double down.
It's the soul of the army. I believe in the heart of the cards here.
The mental load of what you're doing is you're further alienating the play experience of not only the individuals trying to pick up the army from the rest of the game, but those playing against the army. And I don't know that it's worth that.
It's a fair point. Like, it's true, but it might be worth it. But that's
right.
I don't know what the right answer here is, by the by.
Right.
But my statement is either you've got to pick a path. We've picked neither so far, right?
Right.
Either we pick path one where we have RDP justify its existence by actually making it work differently in a tangible way. So not only can you issue the same command, but units can receive multiple commands or something like that. Right, where either you have more to do, or I can hit a single unit multiple times, like so I can stack, not the same one, but I can stack different ones, right? So I can use this combat phase one and this combat phase one, and so on and so forth. Okay, whatever. Right? And so I actually have a chance to use my resources and allocate them. Like, there's no tactics to it if I'm not making a decision on scarcity. If it's just I get to do basically everything all the time and it still doesn't amount to much, that is a loss across the board.
Well, that's the crappy part is it doesn't amount to much. Again, we're paying resource for every minute buff we have in the army right now.
Yeah, sure.
You know, like go on. Continue.
No, I'm with you. So that's path one, right? You add additional, abilities. / turn some into reactive abilities so that there's counterplay there, like tactical counterplay in the way that redeploy or all-out defense or whatever allows. Okay, and or you let them stack in some way, so that way there is functional use to like what it means to be relentless, and for them to feel like they're this perfectly honed, highly quote unquote trained, the best souls of these warriors. That's option one. Option two is you say, you know what, RDP's not worth it. You shift them over to command points. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you make them a high command point army with various and sundry command point generation / usage abilities. And you turn their existing Ossiarch Bone Reaper's command abilities into just standard command abilities that use command points. Right? Mm-hmm. And you have various things that let them, under certain circumstances, issue the same command twice, or blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Right? Like Gobsprak, or like the Mega Boss, or like whatever other examples you want to pick, right? And maybe some of those abilities just become automatic. Like the Toralon example from earlier, where it's just like, if this, then this thing happens. No, stop. That's it. Done. I don't need any more, right? If this hero's here, they get to move an extra 3 inches. Bray Shaman example, right? Instead of needing to get to a command point or something like that, it's just like, if X, then Y, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that's the other direction you go.
Yeah, I don't know. That feels like the less fun that feels like the less interesting way to go. You know, I can imagine a world where either is true. I think just allowing them to spam command relentless discipline is just an easy route. Going forward, I think there's so much more with this army that they can do. Like, where's my sweet bone, like Chianku bone dragon for my rift stands out there?
What would you want? Let's go. Let's do a little round the horn. What would you want in a wave 2, Meph? Archer
battle line. It can be a little 5-der, like a little 5-block. Like, what is it? Judicators. What are the shooty Stormcast?
Yeah, Judicators, basic shooty Stormcast.
Yeah, just little 5 block of like kind of Judicator Ossiarch Bone Reaper versions, right? And the main purpose of that would be to alleviate our spammy sameness. No mortal wounds undershooting. We can just have our regular Nadirite
Sure, just
weapon.
just bones who shoot. Got it. I'm with you.
Yeah, pew, it's fine. Like, you know, we have a lightning archer guy too who gets a d6 shots instead. Like, just literally lean into the dark mirror of Stormcast. It's fine. It would just, the list building, it would alleviate so much if it's a 5 block and it costs like 80 points or something like that. It's so good. Battleline If for Immortus, Morghast, and Stalkers is a necessity. Like, in some manner.
Okay.
I would love a Bone Dragon or something, and then I would especially love a foot, like, liege type hero that is there to buff Stalkers, Immortus, and Morghast. I would love Prince Goro. Like, so we have, like, 4-armed dudes. I want, like, Hecatontry level of limbs. And, like, 2 heads and just some gnarly bone construct with a bunch of arms that is there to, like, actually be a legitimate melee threat, because Liege Cavalos is our only guy who actually wants to get stuck in combat right now as our heroes go. We have nothing that wants to fight you. It kind of sucks as this army. I would go through and adjust each one of the each one of the sub-allegiances. Petrifex Elite is fine. It's fine. Keep going. This is the change we wanted to begin with, the ignoring 1 rend. It's fine. Catapults need to be re-envisioned. The 5 damage thing was hilarious for a time, but like probably not. Either give them a rend and like bring it down to 3 damage, or give them a RDP thing to do to give them rend on a turn.
Sure.
And they have 2 shots. One of them is useless in the current meta. One is supposed to be a horde breaker. Where are the hordes? So that needs to be reimagined. So like their once per shot game can be the one where they get a bunch of rend. Maybe that's the once per shot. I don't know. But like how catapults exist right now, they're non-functional. They don't really do anything. They're a liability in the game. I already mentioned the battle line. If Mortis Praetorians get Immortus that we have fixed theoretically as battle line if, and then give them a real role, like some proper bodyguarding. I think something useful for them would be if they generate some sort of RDP beacon from the backfield. So like you can have them as a keep-back unit protecting like a utility piece or buff piece, and then they're able to like extend ranges of projecting command stuff, as well as being like turbo bodyguards. Ivory Host or Ivory Lulls, Stalkers' battle line seems like a gimme. Games Workshop has gone on record saying Petrifex Elite get bludgeon. That's how they see that army working. They are SEAL Team 6. They get rend. So instead, just no penalty on their +1 to hit, and their relentless discipline ability is just +1 attack. Like, it's fine. Like, just do that. And the fact that you take their Temper Fury and you call it Tempered Fury +1 attack, give them Stalkers as battle line, people will instantly play Ivory Host because you now have the Stalkers as battle line.
Sure. Yep.
Like
it.
Null Myriad. This one's going to go outside of the... Give them a bonus to cast? Like, how about they're the one that have bonuses to cast? And I would also like to see Archon have a 1 to 4 rule with bringing Soulblight Gravelords in. Because Sacrosanct Chamber is gone right now, and he's the Legion of Sacrament is like just missing right now. He's still the Mortarch of Sacrament. He has a whole Legion of Sacrament somewhere out there that's just vanished. By the way, it's for our next Death book. It's like they're totally making Death Mages the book. That's a lie. I don't know that. I want them to do that. But like have him have a 1 and 4 rule where he can bring in some like Legions of formerly Legions of Nagash stuff with Ossiarch Bone Reapers, but give him bonuses to cast. That fixes Null Myriad. Like the fact that someone's gonna be like, oh, what if zombies plus Null Myriad? Fixed, right? Like people are just gonna be going insane with that. And then Crematorians, think as Timmy as possible. Monsters need to explode for 1d6. Why they explode for 1 mortal wound is insane to me.
Sure.
And Lovers of Cities. And this is going out of left field here. What if our catapults could launch Mortec Guard to explode on you?
I like it.
Oh yeah, also Archers and Chariots. There we go. That's everything I want.
Sure. Tom, what's your picks for Wave 2? You're on mute right now, by the way. Don't forget.
Sneezing. Picks for Wave 2. Archers, obviously. I'm a Tomb King stan, so I need to see Chariots. They need to be there, and I would think that they would actually fill a real hole in the army because it would give them an additional mobility unit, something that they don't have. The Gothisar Harvester functions as a support piece. I want a Distraction Carnifex Bone Monster. I want something that you throw out there and is just going to smash face. It's going to travel quick, stride across the battlefield, and smash face.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for me, it wouldn't be... I wouldn't actually want archers. I'd want... Somebody mentioned in the chat, so I don't remember who because it scrolled away, but... skeleton crossbowmen with heavy shields.
Yeah.
Like the old, like the old Dogs of War unit. Feels much
like
more
a repeater.
Their speed, right?
Yeah.
Than just skeletons with bows, right, as it were.
Fine. No, I perfect. Go on.
Yeah, like it just feels more phalanxy, right? By the way, it would be really fun if that unit also had, like, pylons or something like that, like the old Dogs War unit, where when somebody charged you, they could unleash the pylons and then reduce the range of their charge to some degree, or make their weapons worse or their defenses worse on the charge in, or whatever. You can interpret how a pylon worked in any way you would like.
Yeah.
It could do lots of different things, but it'd be neat if they had that unit had a special thing they could do when unleashing hell. Right, is my point.
Right.
I actually don't want like a bone giant or anything like that. What I want is a bone platform. So honestly, this is one place where I think the old Tomb Kings thing is the right direction, but not the right creature. And by that, what I mean is like the old Sphinx. When this, one of the builds of the Sphinx was obviously as a war platform, right? It was
right.
It was like a walking monster that had a bunch of people on top of it, like the War Wagon or something like that, right? That kind of feel. I would want a crawling bone monster that was a war platform that had more tech on top of it with long spears stabbing down and things like that, right? That was sort of intended to fight over the ranks of the things. So that would feel like very on point to me. And then there should just be a bone foot hero that wants to be in combat. That's I mean, that one just feels like it's not the most obvious, or it's not the most creative thing. Sorry. It is sort of the most obvious thing, but it just feels like...
Not the most glamorous.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, yeah. So to me, that would be the 3 units that would be on the top of my list. A foot melee hero that's pretty good. Make him an Immortus Guard hero or a Stalker hero or something like that, and that's fine. He's still foot hero. And then, the war platform bone monster and the crossbow the crossbow shield troops. Those would be the 3 for me. If I had to pick a 4th, by the way, it would be the one that's already shown up in the lore multiple times, which is the Ballistae that they have and use to defend their hold in the 8 points, because they in the fight literally talk about these giant bone Ballistae that they have. That pierce through multiple ranks of the enemy as they shoot, and it's also a very sort of classic phalanx Roman sort of weapon.
Yeah, give it a line targeting where it actually hits every unit in a line. Like, we have spells that do this.
Sure, you can do all sorts of fun things with it, right? It could have a super high rend. It could punch for mortal wounds on a certain hit. It could do all sorts of really fun stuff, right?
It could shoot crematorians at you, because that's the wave of the future is crematorians.
And so that just, again, that kind of stuff, lean into the full forces of what the phalanxes would have, really had at their complete disposal, right? That kind of thing. So I think that'd be neat. That kind of stuff. So those would be my picks. All right, gentlemen. Oh, go ahead. I was just about to say final points.
One bonus aside.
Yep.
One bonus aside. Sell us a whole terrain kit, because I know terrain just is kind of disappearing from the game as something that Games Workshop sells. But sell us the freaking fortress we all saw.
Oh, there you go.
Put a question mark on the price tag. like give us blank checks and then we all write what we want to spend on it, we'd spend it.
Yeah, that sweet bone stuff that they custom made to take all the pictures with.
Yeah. Why haven't you already cast that stuff and started making that to sell us like a little like $300 box set of just terrain? Give me that too.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Well, Meph, thank you very much, buddy. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate you having on here, and I hope we gave some ideas. If the book's not coming soon, I hope they take some of these ideas and integrate them. Maybe they're in a design phase for it to come out in late 2023. So, hey, if we helped, I'm glad to hear it.
Games Workshop, I know you have a labor shortage right now. I will gladly help you write this book. And I'm a dirty lefty, so I'm all about like paying people what they're worth. I'll do it for free, even though I'm worth way more than you can afford, just so that you write a great book.
Sure. You're willing to work on the cheap for this one.
I will do it on the cheap. The value of my labor is in how great this army will be. I will consult with all these great ideas here from chat. I will make a book by the people for the people. Because it's really the most bone reaper thing out there. See, each individual is really like 12 souls blended into one. And I would blend all of the souls and great ideas of everyone and make a truly great product.
Well, there you go. All right, GW, give him a call. You got an offer on the table. For all of you out there watching, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, do all those fun things. Really appreciate all of that. It helps other people find the show and makes it a lot easier. And it makes all of us feel good, and that's nice. And it's so simple. You just click a little button. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Meph, thank you so much once again, brother. Always great to hang out. And as always, we'll see you next Wednesday.